He's moved on. Maresca's a great coach, but is he Pep Guardiola? I'm not sure he is. In fact, I'm certain he's not. You look at Liverpool, new coach starting the project again. Chelsea under Alonso, really good coach, but they're going to need time. Man United are not quite there yet. There's an opportunity for Arsenal to not just consolidate, but to take another step and dominate for a period of time. And I think that's why there's a nervousness around this transfer window. Last year, it was about, can we do the business to get us over the line? We've done that. Now it's about, can we do the business
Champions League?
Yeah, to consolidate our position and to dominate. And I think that's why people are quite anxious at the minute.
See, why can't all the Arsenal fans be like Harry?
Not
Don't be like Piers Morgan, Joel Bayer, Troops, all these prats that ruin it for the good Arsenal fans. I love speaking to you, Harry. Proper Arsenal fan.
Good on you, Harry.
Thank you very much, mate. But listen, every Arsenal fan's got their view, and we're a passionate bunch.
Even that, mate, you should be a politician with that.
No. Harry, we want to speak to you only, mate. The others are idiots.
Talk Sport.
The headlines at 2 minutes past 10. I'm Tom Clayton. Good morning. We start on transfers, and Chelsea have booked Maxence Lacroix's medical as they've agreed a £52 million fee with Palace. While the Blues have been described as having won the summer so far, some are unconvinced with how much money is being spent. talkSPORT's Dean Saunders says the wages are ridiculous. It's only getting worse.
There's more money going in the pot from the TV rights, and if they put more money in again, the wages will go up again.
Yeah.
So that's why the players are getting the wages they're getting, because they get half the cake.
Well, three more who are set for the biggest slice of the Man City cake are Jeremy Doku, Josko Gvardiol and Abdulkadir Kuzanov. All three are set to sign a new 5-year contract at the Etihad this summer. We've been told Newcastle fans shouldn't already write off the season, even despite the summer so far. There's talk Bruno Guimaraes is exploring his options, given interest from Arsenal. The Chronicle's Lee Ryan says Newcastle's position's clear.
It looks like Newcastle kind of digging the heels in a bit. And basically the message I got last night from very high up at St James's was, he's not for sale.
Get all the transfer news at talksport.com. And we've been told there are still plenty of stars to get excited about at the Commonwealth Games. A number of English track athletes are withdrawn to focus on the European Championships next month. But the former gold medal winning Paralympian Ellie Simmons has told talkSPORT we should be looking at the Aussies in the pool.
They've got some big names, Cam McAvoy, Kyle Chalmers, Lani Pallister. They're always really, really good. But again, England, we've got some big names too. Scotland as well. We've got the likes of Duncan Scott, he's the face of these games.
You can hear live coverage of the games tonight from 7.
Talk Sport News.
The Prime Minister's eager to get drilling in the North Sea. This as he opens the doors to number 10 North. Sinead has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. For a limited time only, get 20% off a set of 4 selected premium tyres in our big summer sale. Visit quickfit.com and book today. Conditions apply.
Dry with plenty of sunshine for much of England and Wales. Cloudier across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland with patchy rain. Feeling warm for many and hot towards the southeast.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
Good morning, happy Friday. I'm Alex Crook alongside the Peterborough owner Darragh MacAnthony right here on Talk Sport. Coming up, the FA have brushed off a film hotel room brawl between England under-16 players in Turkey as, quotes, a settled internal matter. Are elite young athletes held to the standards of the national badge, or have they simply been given a free pass? Meanwhile, after Morgan Rogers claimed that Chelsea are the biggest club in London, has Elliot Anderson played similar mind games with Manchester United? Also this morning, Jurgen Klopp is set to be unveiled as Germany manager. Should football clubs put their own policing bill? And after a decade of back and forth, is the next 48 hours make or break for AJ versus Fury? This is Alex Crook and Darragh MacAnthony, and we're live right here on talkSPORT.
100% engagement.
Jim White and Simon Jordan on talkSPORT.
Yeah, Darragh back once again, third day on the spin, and I can see that you're a ball of energy this morning, despite the fact you've only had 4 hours sleep.
Yeah, working hard last night. So don't worry, I'll be bringing it today. The runner's getting the coffee at the moment for me, so I'll be supercharged.
The first of about 6 between
now
and
and very important today.
1 o'clock this afternoon.
I've got to keep people awake when I've got to listen to you all day, so it's very important.
A bit of breaking news, by the way, before we get into some of those topics. It's been reported over in Italy that Pep Guardiola has rejected the chance to become the new Italy manager. I mean, that's not a massive surprise, is it?
Come on. I get it. Look, there's new people behind the scenes there. The Italian Federation, they've had a nightmare, haven't they? World Cup qualification. Pep wasn't taking that job. So, not sure what all the fuss is about.
Should England now have that conversation, the FA?
I think he's too young to be an international manager. I know that sounds bizarre because Tuchel's probably younger than him, but I just think he's the GOAT. I think he probably wants a rest. Last time he took, 2 years off? So I don't think he'd be in a rush to go into a job. And maybe in a couple of years like Klopp's done. I'm very surprised Jurgen's taken an international job. I thought we'd see him back at a big club. But listen, maybe he's enjoyed his time away and doing his advisor role, and he's got a good family, so good luck to him in the Germany job.
It's a tough gig, that, as well. I watched Germany beat Curacao 7-1 in their first game of the World Cup, and I said to my producer, they're not going to go very far, which sounds ridiculous when they've just scored 7.
Yeah.
They gave away so many chances.
You don't know what you're
getting. Arguably the worst team at the World Cup.
Yeah, they've kind of lost their identity a little bit, so I guess he's going to bring the old rock and roll football back, and they certainly have enough good players. Bayern Munich obviously are doing well in Europe.
Good players, but they got the world beaters they perhaps used to have.
Well, I would say they got a good young talent there. Bayern Munich are doing very well, obviously, in the Champions League. Now, I know they have international players, but there's still some... You say that about that, but how many international teams have 11 world-class players? No. And that's always the question. So, but Germany have got to be doing better than, what was it, the last 32? Or whatever.
Yeah, lost to Paraguay on penalties.
Yeah.
That was one of my highlights of the tournament, actually. I was in a bar in New York explaining to the locals, who weren't necessarily football fans, how a penalty shootout works. And one guy, an American, asked me when, I think it was Paraguay, put one of their spot kicks over the crossbar, did he do that on purpose? And I said, no.
Yes, he gets 4 points.
You don't get extra points for skying the crossbar. Anyway, let's get on to this video that's emerged over the last 48 hours or so. A fight between England under-16 players at a camp in Turkey was caused by, quotes, an internal matter which was quickly resolved, according to the FA. An online clip from the camp in late 2025 shows 2 players fighting in a hotel room while several others film and encourage them. For those watching on YouTube, you can see the rather disturbing video now. The clip is about a minute long. It shows a boy wearing official England kit grab a phone from a boy lying on the bed in a hotel room. The pair scuffle over the phone, leading to punches and kicks as well as grappling. At one point, the boy who attempted to take the phone tries to get the other boy in a headlock before dragging him around the room, throwing him on the floor. The fight took place seemingly while the under-16s were in Sedi. What do you make of that?
Well, I know your view of it. You're outraged by it as usual. I make nothing of it. It was dealt with by the FA 2 years ago. It was a load of 16-year-olds having a scuffle. It goes on every day, everywhere in the world. I guess they're to a higher standard because they're young footballers. I've got 2 problems with it. Not with the 2 idiots who were fighting. I've got a problem with the idiot stood there filming it.
Yeah.
I think that's, modern day for you. That everyone's behind a camera phone and nobody intervened.
Exactly.
Back in the day, I'd have stepped in and gone, what are you doing?
Of course you would.
You pair of morons.
Yeah.
And I've got an issue with whoever leaked it. And again, that's the world we live in nowadays. That shouldn't even be out in the press. I don't know why the media are even talking about it.
Does that response from the FA go far enough, though? They say it's been dealt with.
Yes. What do you want from them?
Well, because it's so public, do we want to know how it's been dealt with?
Okay, why? It goes on up and down the country. Every football club, by the way. And I'll give you an example. Our academy, years ago, and these players are gone. One of them we sold for a lot of money. We had 2 players who were caught shoplifting when they were 14. They were in our academy. And one of them, when they got caught and nearly arrested and the police came, he gave another academy player's name and dubbed him in instead. Now, is that national news? Is that important?
So you were saying this is just boys being boys?
No, I'm not saying it's boys being boys because you don't want to see any of that crap go on. What I'm saying is we're blowing it up into it's a nothing burger that, again, the media are outraged about. What? They're two idiots obviously rowing.
But they are in England kit.
It doesn't matter if they're in England.
Of course it does. You know, it's like when you're a serviceman and you're wearing a uniform, you're going to get held to higher standards.
Oh, and here's the thing. They're both under 16. Okay, and obviously, if you call that a fight, it's fisticuffs. It's basically, it is what it is. Like I said, my issue is with the idiots watching and whoever leaked it from a camera phone. That's obviously someone who's probably not in football anymore, has been released and thought, I'm going to put that out.
You said 2 years. It was actually only 8 months ago that it was filmed.
Okay.
It does beg the question, why is it out in the public domain now?
Because somebody's obviously trying to get clicks or whatever they're trying to do, or, But listen, at the end of the day, if you're the parents, you don't like seeing that.
I was going to say, because you are a parent.
Of course, I've got 3 kids.
Was that your son or daughter involved? How would you feel about that?
Well, if it was dealt with, it was dealt with. And I'd want to know from my kid, well, what did you do? Why did you end up like that? And how did it lead to that? And that's it. What I'd be bothered about is the fact that all his friends stood there while it happened. And I'd be bothered about people like you being outraged by it when it's already been dealt with.
You're bothered that I'm outraged about?
Yeah, because it's
about a violent video.
A violent video. Oh my God! You guys nowadays in the press, you have to hyper exaggerate everything.
I hate seeing.
What was violent?
I'm a lover, not a fighter.
It's not what you said.
This is someone who's never thrown a punch in his life. By the way,
well, that's easy to see. You'd fold like a cheap suit if you got in a bar fight.
I see that as a badge of honor.
I was a rugby player growing up, and I've had my nose broken 3 times. Playing sports.
You've got one
of
the noses that people.
I've got what we call a Roman nose. My mother used to call it.
Magnificent.
No. Listen, but the bottom line is, I've had enough rucks over my time, and that's part of growing up. So you mentioned the word bullying earlier, because again, it's an outrage word. So I
did look at the start of the video, like one boy deliberately set upon the other, and as you say, everyone else is stood around filming it.
You didn't see the start of the video.
No.
The video came in probably a minute into it. So again, we see videos all the time on social media. And then the truth comes out. And it's never what you see in the video.
I guess this is also the problem with modern society, that if this happened even 10 years ago, it wouldn't be filmed, it wouldn't be on social media.
No.
But the instant reaction now, whenever something like this happens, is to go and grab a camera phone.
You have 4 kids by some miracle. I've got 3 kids. And the one thing I say to all my kids are now 20, 19 and 17, is be very careful around camera phones.
Yeah.
There are children who say stupid stuff and sing songs who are cancelled, don't get their college acceptances because people release videos. Your daughters, be careful with boyfriends with cameras and videos. I always say to them, nowadays you have to be. We didn't grow up with that threat. Yeah. We didn't have those issues. You said stuff off air that you'd never worry about saying because there's nobody recording it. Yeah. It's and that's a world I miss. Yeah. This nowadays, where we're on the radio talking about a couple of 15, 16-year-old idiots having a row or a ruck, that's been dealt with. I just don't get it.
That carefulness, though, should you not be extra diligent and extra careful when you're wearing the badge of your country?
As a parent, and I always blame parents for bad behaviour, as a parent, if your kid's representing England and having a fight, that's another story we can talk about with parenting.
Yeah.
Shame on you, because you don't want your kids getting in a row. Because that's what you bring your kids up to is be respectful and try not to get enticed into rows or wound up. But we don't know the events that led to the row.
03717 22 3344 if you've got an opinion on that video on social media. You can text us 810 89 as well. We're going to be talking about Marcus Rashford between now and 11 o'clock because Barcelona look like they've moved on now to other targets. What does that mean for Marcus Rashford and his future at Manchester United? How would Darragh MacAnthony solve a 325 grand a week problem? I'm Alex Crook. He's Darragh MacAnthony, Mr. Broken Nose. We're with you all the way through until 1 o'clock right here on talkSPORT.
I'd separate what happened in the World Cup from my club. So if he wants to stay, I'd keep him. He's a really good player. He plays well for us. Really don't like what he did in the World Cup. If he wants to stay, keep him. If he wants to go, like any player that wants to go, let him go. But I would, 100%. We need experienced players with a new manager. We need continuity. So do I like what he did? No. Do I think he's going to get loads of stick wherever he goes? Maybe some at Stamford Bridge? Yes. But if he wants to stay, get your head down and play for us. That's what I think.
And how do you feel about, obviously, Alonso coming in as manager? couple of signings so far. You get John Stones in the building. You feel good about things for this season?
I feel that after 4 years or 4.5 years of trial and error by American owners, that at last they're appointing a manager, not a coach. The only thing I would say is that we need to bring in some experience. So we bring in someone like John Stones with the experience he's got on a free. And also we don't need 5, I hate to say it, but fairly average sporting directors. We need a couple of really good quality sporting directors. But yeah, Morgan Rogers, really exciting to get Alonso. And at last we've got a manager, not a coach. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this season.
Where does Morgan Rogers play in the 11?
I think he's been told he's going to play off the left.
Is he?
I believe so.
Okay.
Interesting to see.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
Listening to White and Jordan with me, Alex Crook, and Darragh MacAnthony, Peterborough United owner. Lots of you getting in touch about this video of the fight in the England under-16 camp. A lot of people agreeing with Darragh, not for the first time this week. Neil, the Wigan fan. Darragh is spot on. It's a nothing story. The world and media is too soft today. They are teenagers. This happens every day in my house. Go watch some under-16 Sunday football. Testosterone levels are off the scale. Don't ruin kids' future careers by making more of this than what it is. The producer's asking me to ask you if you were interested in signing one of those players somewhere down the line and this video surfaced. Would it put you off as an owner? Not at all, I assume.
No, not at all. Look, we have to do a lot of character assessment, and you're always going to find stuff about players. Like I just said to you about one of my players, what they did back in the day didn't affect him going on to a multi-million-pound move. People make mistakes. We're not talking about something that's crime, nefarious, bad. And no, I just think nothing would stop me signing a player over that kind of incident, because I just think, again, storming a teacup, it's not that big a deal. And I dare say academies up and down the country have had worse going on tour.
Let's bring in Dave, the Birmingham fan. He's called 03717 22 3344. Dave, what do you want to say?
I just think that what's happened is we've lost control of the youth players. We're throwing so much money at them. Back in the day, Darrah's probably old enough to remember this, same I am. You used to have the YTS scheme where you had to earn your contract. And I know it all changed to protect the smaller clubs so they weren't losing their talent for nothing. But we are just throwing thousands of pounds at these kids at 16 to 18, and they're not being given the guidance. They're not being taught how to act.
100%. I agree.
It has got out of control. The way that, it is a storm in a teacup. Kids have fights. I've got teenage lads. I was forever pulling them apart. I used to have the joke of a weekend, I'm putting a referee shirt on. I've got the boys.
Is that not a big issue, though? One thing that Darragh did say that, where he condemned the video was all the other players just stood around watching and filming, and encouraging the scrap.
More, that's more shambolic than the two lads fighting.
But that's a society issue.
No, that's generational. That's society, and that's parenting. Yeah. And the other thing I'd say, I agree with Dave there, what he said about the money. One of my ideas a couple of years ago to change about the whole players getting paid too much when they're teenagers was to cap what anyone under the age of 20 got paid, and any balance would be left in a fund for them when they're older. Because I do think it's too much too soon. I think too many of these, we've had them on loan. Yep. We've had young players from Man City. We've had players from all the top clubs. They come in, they're on 25, 30 grand a week. There can be issues in your dressing room. They don't want to pick up laundry, or they don't want to do this. Or let me tell you right now, money is damaging a large percentage of the youth section of our game. And that is something I'm a big proponent about changing. No 18, 19-year-old who hasn't played yet for the first team should be earning 10, 15, 20 grand a week. Absolute disgrace. And what it does is it kills a lot of careers. I'm going to give you one example. Last year, we went to sign a boy from a big Premier League club in the Northeast. He was a 10. He had a year left with this club. Now, our pay scale for a player like that would be between 1,500 and 3 grand a week, depending with incentives. He was on 10 grand a week, right? Wow. Now,
how many Premier League games he played?
None. Yeah. And I said to his agent, look, he needs to get out of there. He's going to get lost in the loan system again. Don't put him out on loan. Newcastle, or the clubs or whatever else have told me basically that they would happily potentially do a deal and help move the player on. The agent said to me, no, he doesn't want to come. He wants to play out the year and earn the money. This summer, I believe he's been released. The agent's been on to me, and I said he'd have been on a 3-4 year deal with us. He'd have been playing men's football, and now he'd be rebuilding his career and going back up the other way again. That's the issue.
So are you inclined to give him a second chance, or
no?
Did he burn his bridges?
No, we've moved on.
A year ago?
We moved on. He went out on loan again. He had a disastrous loan.
Right.
And I told his agent at the time, another loan would be the worst thing now at his age.
Is this not also the problem? Dave, thanks for the call. Much appreciated. Agents. And listen, I deal with a lot of agents.
Can I tell a story from your club you love?
Yeah, of course. But what I was going to say was a lot of the agents are genuinely good people. They've got the best interest of their clients at heart, but you're always going to get the rogue agents who only see the pound notes.
Right, there's that. And we always, I love having a go at agents. There's some good ones, there's some rotten ones, there's some bad ones. Some I'd hang out a window, some I'd break bread with. I had another player a couple of years ago. I have to give credit to the Man United youth system and how they try and get their young players out on loan and try and get them permanent moves. I was dealing with 2 people at academy and corporate level at United. We were looking to bring a player in. We'd agreed a deal with United. They were fantastic. And the academy guy rang me and spent an hour on the phone with me, telling me about the player's personality. He had him in. Anyway, we were giving the player a 3-4 year contract. He was going to be on £100 more a week with us. And he basically said he couldn't make it work, leaving Manchester, leaving his friends, leaving all his mates. And the academy guy said to me, I've told him he's mad. It's a great move for him. And lo and behold, I know that player's gone nowhere. He's not in United anymore. And again, another story. And this is where sometimes academies need to toughen up some of the boys, prepare them for what's to come, prepare them for the fact that you may not appear for the first team. You may not play for England.
Well, this is the problem, isn't it? The percentage of players who actually get picked up by an academy and then make it in the game is still slender.
It's horrifying.
Yeah,
it's really tough. So I don't think we're prepping these youngsters enough. I don't think the parents are doing a good enough job. And I'm a parent, and I would always say I don't do a good enough job at times. And I certainly think clubs need to do a better job as well. But this whole story and this nonsense we're talking about, that's irrelevant.
Well, I think Danny agrees with you as well. He's called 0371722 3344. Danny, you think this is a bit of a storm in the teacup, much like Darragh?
Lads, Darragh's right. I think it's about character building.
I mean, there's ways to build character. It's not necessarily the route I would go down for my kids, to be honest.
Yeah, well, maybe not. But then you're not thinking, well, this going to everyone's saying like snowflake mentality.
Yep.
Where I'd like my kids. Listen, the way I am, I'm not a bully. I hate bullies. My dad said to me, my brother, we used to fight like brothers do. My dad was just like, listen, you want to fight? He got us a pair of boxing gloves. He said, have a fight from not a proper tear up, but my dad just said you've got to be able to stick up for yourself.
Yeah,
I think just touching on what you were saying about the agents and that.
Yeah.
I think some of these players, I think Darragh's right again. I think they think they've made it before they acting the way they're acting. It is a bit not on acting like that. I do think in one part of me thinks you should behave yourself.
Parents play a big role. I agree with you. 2 things I always tell my kids: 1, you don't bully anyone, and 2, you have to stand up for yourself. And I always say to my wife,
there's ways to stand up for yourself. I can stand up for myself without throwing a punch.
Well, I'm not saying to my kids to throw a punch. I want to bring up magnificent human beings. That's my job as a parent, as long as they're great human beings. And I think there are too many soft human beings being brought up. So I need to make sure my kids are a bit tougher, because I don't want my kids to be
that's more about mentality than physicality.
I don't want my kids to be trampled on.
Yeah.
All right? And at the end of the day, no one's asking for a fist fight in the schoolyard. And I give you one more example of a parent sometimes doing it the wrong way. We had another player on loan, where the player got me in the car park after a game and started arguing with me that his boy wasn't playing as a 9 and he's been played as a 10, and that he's come here to play as a 9, and this is the way it should be. Why he's living in the boy's multi-million-dollar mansion. That's also half of the problem. So it's not just the kids, it's the parents. It's the way it is nowadays. And I'm not judging you on how you parent your kids. I can only imagine. And I'm sure they're lovely kids all for them, and your wife's done a great job. And probably done most of the work. Because I always say my wife does most of the work for my kids.
There was a compliment in there for a minute.
It was, for your wife.
You whipped it back.
For your wife. By the way, quick shout out to Jill out there. Love you lots. She's recovering from cancer. And her husband, Richard. I just wanted to say that while we were live on air. They've had a tough year.
Oh, very nice, mate. I think we can probably draw a line under that video. Now, let's talk about Marcus Rashford, shall we? Speaking about overpaid players, 325 grand a week, there or thereabouts, when he goes back to Manchester United. Obviously, he was on loan at Barcelona last season. They've signed Anthony Gordon. They've now announced the signing of Karim Adeyemi as well from Borussia Dortmund. So it doesn't look like Rashford is going to get that dream move to Barcelona. I'm told there's interest from Turkey, but he's not particularly keen to make that move.
I wouldn't be.
What happens to Marcus Rashford? If you were in charge at Manchester United, would you try and reintegrate him, or has there been too much water under that particular bridge?
Yeah, I think...
Bearing in mind that he's still got quite a hostile relationship, I think, with the hierarchy.
Yeah, the problem you're going to have is the minute he has a few bad games, he gets taken out of the team, then comes the sulking, all the issues, all the backbiting, the stuff coming out via agents, brothers, family, all that. I think United want to move on. He's obviously on a hefty wage. I'm amazed Saudi haven't come in. I'm amazed he hasn't gone out to Saudi.
I think he won it.
Again, Saudi pay a lot more than 300 grand a week for a player, obviously, who's playing for England and still in his prime. Yeah. I'm very surprised Barcelona didn't do the deal. But then again, I expected him to do well at Barcelona. Most, average wingers would do well out there, the team they have. I don't know where he goes. If you were a Spurs, would you go for him?
That's the one that keeps nagging away in the back of my mind.
We'll take him for a loan.
Yeah.
And if he plays 23 games, you know what I mean, we'll obviously pay this fee and that fee. What United are going to have to probably end up doing is recuperating as much of that fee back and all the loan fees they've had the last 2 seasons and the next 2 seasons. So I'm thinking Spurs. They've got a few more experienced Premier League players they've signed.
And De Zerbi's the type of manager that feels he can...
I'm not sure
he feels he can fix players.
I'm not sure he'd put up with...
Really?
And then you'd worry about the London life, wouldn't you? So
yes, you would.
There's all those things. Rashford is incredibly talented. And you look at him and go... What are you doing with your career? You should be dominating. You should be dominating world
Even
football.
that World Cup, he comes on, doesn't he, the first game, scores a brilliant goal against Croatia, arguably England's best performance in that second
I agree.
half. He played a part of that, starts the next game,
fur
sinks
coat,
the place out, and then never really gets his place back. Anthony Gordon becomes de facto left winger, not just for England, but at Barcelona as well.
And the place was there because Gordon wasn't good in game one, and it was there to be won. And you just look at Rashford and you go, you've got all the tangibles to be world class. What is the matter with you? But again, I would say, he's been on nearly £500,000 a week for the last, since he's 23? Is it again too much too soon?
And I also, and you've sort of alluded to this when it comes to parenting, but it's not just about parenting, is it? It's about the inner circle.
Correct.
And I wonder if Marcus Rashford has the right people around him, the right people advising him off the pitch.
I would agree.
I know he probably doesn't.
No, I would agree with that. And I'd look at saying Ivan Toney, who played for us, and I would say his dad ruled him like an iron fist.
Yeah.
With his family, with Ivan, whatever else. So
as clearly Bellingham's dad does, whether you like that or not.
And the mother, you know what I mean? And I look at that and I go, again, we talk about good parenting. I'm not having got Rashford's parents, but Ivan Toney, his dad, helped make him a Premier League star, as well as Peterborough and Brentford. Yeah. And obviously then, make a lot of money in Saudi. So really, I don't know. It's a real conundrum. And I guess it's like, what do you do with a problem like Marcus?
Keen to hear from Manchester United fans. Would you welcome Marcus Rashford back for the start of the season? Is it time for a clean break? 0371722 3344 if you want to call the show. You can text us 81089, send us a WhatsApp as well. Next up, we're hoping to hear from Jurgen Klopp, who's just been appointed as Germany's new manager. He's been holding a press conference over in Germany. You are listening to Alex Crook and Darragh MacAnthony in for White and Jordan on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com.
About Tottenham here. It's a big conversation because obviously it's about trophy wins, European Cups, all of those sort of things come into it. But in the modern world, it also comes down to support base. Money is so much involved, and Spurs are a big club, full stop. Of course, we're above someone like West Ham. We have got more support.
He had you above West Ham
globally. Well, I know, but he was almost fighting with that. You could also look at a support point of view globally. We would make Chelsea look tiny. They have had more recent success. Facts, they've had more success. But we also got to think about Tottenham history. First team to do a domestic double. First team to win the European Cup. we have history that can't be ignored in the same way that like
sorry,
Aston Villa.
Without being pedantic, people will be shouting at the radio, European Cup, not the European Cup.
A European Cup, yes, apologies.
That's all right.
And so I think that history is important, it really, really is. And I don't want to sound like I'm banging on about the past. We know what we've been. I'm a realistic Tottenham fan, I've seen it. Arsenal are a big club, hate saying it.
talkSPORT News.
Good morning. With your headlines, I'm Sinead Garvan. Andy Burnham's eager to get drilling in the North Sea for more oil and gas. According to The Times, he'll make his mind up within weeks whether to go ahead. He wants to use the initiative to cut the cost of living this winter. Political correspondent John Boothman says there's been a long wait for a decision on this.
In particular, it's of concern to people in the northeast of Scotland because thousands of jobs are at stake.
Meanwhile, Number 10 North is opening its doors for business today. Andy Burnham's first job will be to chair a meeting of the National Economic Council, bringing together business representatives, senior ministers and regional mayors. The PM intends to work from the new Manchester base once a week. Meanwhile, there could be an £800 million shortfall in his promise to build more council houses. Andy Burnham's pledged the biggest building programme since the post-war period. The Resolution Foundation have been looking into this. Its CEO, Reith Curtis, says there are options, but it's a tough ask.
There might be interesting things he could do with something called the National Housing Bank, which is going to provide cheap loans to housing associations.
And temperatures are set to reach 30 degrees again today across central and southern England. Yellow heat health alerts are in place, but there is some rain expected over the weekend. But forecasters warn it won't be enough to help drought-hit areas.
talkSPORT sports headlines with Bostik. For professional grade sealants with easy application and a perfect finish, pros trust Bostik.
Jurgen Klopp is back in management, and we're told Newcastle are digging in their heels over Bruno Guimaraes. Tom has more at 11.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
I'm Alex Crook alongside Darragh MacAnthony. We're with you all the way through until 1 o'clock. 100% Spurs would love Rashford, but he is above us. If we're honest, he wouldn't want to come, says Mike. I'm not so sure about that.
It's a world-class stadium with a world-class manager now, potentially.
Yeah.
So,
and they're going to have a much better season, aren't they, than they have last couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, they're spending the money. The Lewis family and the youngsters now are involved. There's some serious dough now flowing. And I know that. I live out in the States, obviously, where they have a golf and country club. So, no, I think Spurs will be a different beast next couple of years.
If you were Daniel Levy, would you be a bit frustrated with the way they're now splashing the cash? Because as much as everybody accuses Daniel Levy of being a bit of a tightwad, he was acting under instructions from the owners.
Oh, I get that, but that's just the role you took on. And, you know, he's become a very wealthy man over the years, obviously been involved with the Lewis family. So he's ended up with a large share in ownership of Spurs. And we spoke yesterday to Stefan, the price of clubs. He's going to end up as a billionaire.
Yeah.
Many times over.
Hard to feel sorry for a billionaire.
Yeah, you can't feel sorry for a billionaire. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah.
Let's talk about one of the big stories over in Germany. The big story over in Germany. Jurgen Klopp has been speaking to the media for the first time this morning, having been appointed as the new national team manager, replacing Julian Nagelsmann after a very disappointing early exit from the World Cup. Delighted to say, friend of the show, German broadcaster Konstantin Eckner joins us now. Konstantin, I'd imagine this has gone down brilliantly with the Germany fans, Jurgen Klopp's appointment.
It has, of course. It was expected for the past couple of weeks, ever since Germany were eliminated from the World Cup. The German FA, the DFB, they were in negotiations with Jürgen Klopp and his previous employer, Red Bull, because they had to sort things out because Jürgen Klopp was actually under contract with Red Bull as the head of global soccer until 2029. But he got out of that contract, and now he is under contract until 2030. So for the next two international tournaments with the German FA, and the expectation is not that Germany will win the Euros 2028 or anything like that, but that actually Jürgen Klopp and his staff will manage to turn the team around in a sense and to get back on track, because for the past couple of years now, the Germany team has been quite disappointing at those international tournaments.
I was going to ask you that because we know that Jurgen Klopp's biggest asset is his charisma and his personality. Liverpool fans missed that with Arne Slot last season particularly. Is that going to be enough, though? Because I watched Germany at the World Cup. Obviously, the goalkeeper now is past his sell-by date. He won't play at another international tournament. I'm not convinced about the central defenders. I wonder about the stardust in attack. It seems to me there's an awful lot of work for Jurgen Klopp to do on this team.
I think the biggest advantage for Klopp in a sense is that he is so charismatic and that he has so much credit, not just with the Football Association, but also with the German public. So even if he doesn't get the results early on, I think he still has time and he's not under immense pressure by the media and by the fans, at least early on. And I think also because he has so much credit, he is not afraid of dropping some of these aging players or players who just don't perform that well, while previous national team head coaches in Germany were sometimes maybe afraid, or they just were holding on to the old guard, as Julian Nagelsmann did to an extent, as he brought back Manuel Neuer for the World Cup. All these instances, I think Jurgen Klopp is actually appointed to manage the turnaround, just like he did at Dortmund and at Liverpool, using younger players, propping up these younger players, and then with those players, with that kind of foundation, then maybe getting back to the title picture in 2030 or 2032.
Are you surprised he's taking the international job this early? He's still relatively young. Obviously, he's come out of Liverpool. He's had a bit of a break. He's working for the Red Bull Group. Are you shocked that he hasn't gone back into a top job somewhere, or
Yeah, if you would have asked me that maybe 2 years ago or so, I would have probably said yes, but now not so much anymore, because I know that he was approached by major clubs in the past 18 months or so, including Real Madrid. But he turned them down, and I think there was the indication that actually Jurgen Klopp just wanted to stay at Red Bull, for instance, at that like boardroom level, or he wanted to take an international job. And I think as someone who grew up in Germany, a 59-year-old man from Stuttgart, there was only the Germany job, basically, right? I mean, maybe the England job in another life, but I think it was just, all right, if I get the Germany job, I will take it. We also have to keep in mind, previously, when he was at Liverpool in 2020, 2021, for instance, and even 2024, when he looked burned out after all those years at Anfield, he was approached by the German Football Association and they turned them down. So it didn't feel ready for the job, but now he does. And I think it might be essentially the final major chapter of his career.
That's a proper elite manager, by the way.
I was just going to ask the question. So this is a deal that runs until the 2030 World Cup. Do we think he will ever go back into club management, or is that door closed?
I think it's closed. I think it's now the Germany job, and maybe he will even extend his contract, right? If things go well, if there are positive signs, why not extend your contract? You're right now only 59. In 2030, you will be 63. I mean, there are much, much older managers on the international level. So he might extend his contract, but right now it's a 4-year project. But I think he will try to be the Germany manager for years to come, and then just not retire, but maybe then moving on into like a managing director role or whatever there is out there. I think he also has a lot of ambassador possibilities and also commercial possibilities, because he earns actually a lot of money being the commercial face of many brands.
It's a nice gig. I mean, can you imagine in 4 or 5 years' time we could be in a world where Guardiola, Mourinho and Klopp are international managers at a tournament?
Don't forget Thomas Tuchel.
Well, like I said, the elite ones. Yeah, that could be where we are in a few years' time. That could be very interesting.
Just on that, Constantine, there's been a lot of fallout over here to Thomas Tuchel. I said he should resign. Darragh and Simon Jordan both said he should be sacked. How have the German public reacted to what he did in that semi-final? Are they smirking to themselves?
I mean, not smirking. Maybe some, actually.
The goal would be if I was German.
I mean, maybe in a sense, right? The way that England fumbled that game, also that they were just they looked so tired actually in the end. But also the way that Thomas Tuchel fumbled that game, in a sense, of course, it made headlines. I don't know how many people smirked, but it was also a huge surprise because we know Thomas Tuchel as being a smart tactician, but. Personally, I felt like at that point he should get another chance at another tournament. Also
I bet you
because
did.
This is like it's an inside job, by the way. No. No, in all seriousness, I think there's a lack of alternatives. Unless like Pep Guardiola would agree to take the England job, I don't believe that like Eddie Howe also would be a major improvement to Thomas Tuchel right now. That being said, now he will be in charge of England managing at the Euros 2028 on home soil.
Yeah.
So it's a bit of a different kind of story. If that tournament would be in Poland or France or whatever, it would be a different story. But now it's, of course, a major responsibility for Thomas Tuchel.
Yeah, and it's a huge opportunity. And obviously the last time the Euros was on home soil, Gareth Southgate's England put out a certain Germany. If they end up playing Germany again with Klopp in one dugout and Tuchel in the other, that could be very interesting. Let's talk domestic matters if we can, Constantine, while we've got you, because there has been a bit of talk over the last couple of days about Al Hilal, who've already signed Crescencio Somerville. He's penned a 4-year contract today. In for Harry Kane, but he's going to stay at Bayern and sign a new contract, isn't he?
Yes, actually, the negotiations are looking positive for Bayern. So they are getting closer and closer to a contract extension. So I never took those Al Hilal or any other rumors, by the way. I mean, there are usually some kind of Harry Kane rumors out there. I've never really took them seriously. I think it would be foolish by him to go elsewhere, especially to, I mean, not really competitive league. But Bayern Munich, they are really positive, and the signs right now are pointing into the direction of a contract extension, and I think it's the best move for Harry Kane. I mean, he has a couple of years left. Bayern Munich have a great team. They will be playing for the Champions League title once again, and maybe they get over the line. I mean, it's possible. So just stay there, be happy in Munich, and then maybe have a Champions League title, and with a bit of backwind, maybe you can get into the Euros 2028 with Thomas Tuchel in the dugout, by the way.
He's one of the favourites with the bookmakers, Harry Kane, for the Ballon d'Or. Do you see him as potential World Player of the Year?
He's got to be up there. I know he wasn't fabulous at the World Cup, scored some key goals for England, obviously, and still scored a few. He's got to be there for what he's done last season. He's super consistent. He's always available. He's a leader. Yeah, I would put him as a favourite, yeah. Yeah.
Up there with Rodri, perhaps?
I would think he deserves it, yeah. Probably more so than Rodri. Rodri was brilliant at the World Cup, but probably didn't have his best season, still coming back from the ACL. So Harry Kane for me.
Constantine, one more on the transfer front. Yan Diamonde, is he going to be allowed to leave Leipzig this summer? Because I think if he does, that could have a knock-on effect for Liverpool in terms of Bradley Barcola.
So it's actually hard to answer. So on the one hand, Leipzig tell everyone who's asking that they don't want to sell him, that they want to hold on to him for another year, that they believe that his market value will only go up, that he will be in the 8 digits. So it might happen that he will stick around or has to stick around. But I also believe that there's still the possibility of 100 million euros offer on the table, and Leipzig will then just give in and sell him. So right now, I believe he will stay, but I also think that Leipzig, they have like one of those, like that. If there's a line, right? There's a red line in the sand, and if that's crossed with a huge offer, he might just leave, and he will be allowed to leave. However, Yan Diomande, not the best World Cup in my opinion.
First game was good, and then he sort of petered out a bit, didn't he?
Right, right. And so I mean, he didn't really increase his market value, I think, during the World Cup.
Constantine, thanks for joining us as always. Constantine Eckner, German football expert, reacting to the news. Jurgen Klopp has today been appointed as the new national team manager. As a Liverpool fan, would you spend the money on Diamonde as a sort of up-and-coming prospect, or would you go for Barcola as the ready-made replacement for Mo Salah?
I'm not sure on Barcola. I'd probably Diamonde. I like him, but it's 110 million quid for potential. When you're paying 110 million quid for potential nowadays, I don't love that, and that's a problem, and that's where the market is, unfortunately. So it's a tough one. Liverpool have to replace Salah. They need wide players. Now they're talking about some player from Monaco. who's probably would have been 5th choice at the start of the summer. So Liverpool fans would probably spontaneously combust if that's the only signing that came in those positions. I don't think they'll get to him on there. I think that's PSG all over. So then you're going to go for Barcola now, who Arsenal want as well. Yeah. And he's a very, very good player, but he's not in the PSG side, is he? 99% of the time. So he's in and out. I don't know. I'm torn. Is there any other options, I would say, to the recruitment department of Liverpool?
Jurgen Klopp, by the way, just rounding off that conversation, one of his standout quotes today.
I love that.
I'm not doing this job for you. I'm for myself. I'm doing it for you, the German fans.
No,
he knows exactly what to say.
That wasn't the quote I saw. The one I liked was, if you go after my family, I'm gone. If you think I'm rubbish, tell me to my face and I'll leave immediately. I love the way he's preconditioning the media to behave themselves and bow. In other words, I'm here. I'll do it my way. And for any reason I get sniff of anything from you or the fans, I'll just walk. And I was going to say that to our friend before and go, is Jurgen not the type that if Germany fail at the Euros, he would be the type, Kevin Keegan, back in the day, who would be honest enough
that video again this week,
to hold his hand up and go, I've done enough. I love that about Kevin Keegan. He was always honest.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because a lot of managers would be like, no, I want the payoff. So Klopp's that type who would do the same, I think. He won't put up with any nonsense.
And on the subject of burnout, have you ever had any of your managers burn out? I mean, I'd imagine working under you is pretty demanding.
100%. Look, you ask my wife, it'd be the same thing. I mean, constantly burnt out. That's why I'm in the UK without her for a few
I'm burnt
weeks.
out after 3 days.
Yeah, that's normal. I'm high maintenance. I get that. I've had Darren Ferguson 100% would tell you.
Is that what happened last season as well?
I would say, we ran hard for 3.5 years. And, you probably needed a rest. I think every good manager needs to recharge the batteries after 3.5, 4 years, because you need a new project. It's either replace all the players, rebuild, refresh, or the manager takes a rest. And that's what I was saying to Newcastle fans yesterday, that get excited about Eddie Howe getting a refresh of new players and new characters, because we know what Eddie Howe's like with new talent and young talent.
We're going to talk Commonwealth Games next. That got underway in Glasgow overnight. You are listening to Alex Crook, Darragh MacAnthony, in for White and Jordan on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com.
Every member of the British press has spent most of the summer before the World Cup slagging it off. You've talked about ticket prices, so let me call you out on that. Was it expensive? Yeah. Was it difficult to go to games and whatever else? 100%, but they sold out most of the games. They're all sold out.
Yeah, but my question
finish.
to you would be,
Let me finish.
They sell out to the right people.
What do you mean the right people? Whoa. What does that mean?
Well, I thought
that's a very dangerous comment. The right people.
I thought the atmosphere was a little bit diluted because you didn't necessarily have genuine football fans. You had tourists.
Okay. Are we now quantifying when you buy a sports ticket, you have to qualify as a fan?
Well, I think it's unfair if you're pricing out
I'm not
genuine fans.
Hang on. I'm not a chess fan, but I might go to a chess event one day. Does it mean I can't go because I'm not a chess fan by nature? I mean, that's a ridiculous comment you've just made. That
not really. There were
only football fans.
I know a lot of England fans.
You're a Manchester United fan.
Yeah.
Are you telling me everyone that goes there, half of Old Trafford on a match day?
Of course not.
Are die-hard Man United fans? Tottenham.
But I know a lot of England fans who are in the England Travel Club. They've got their caps.
I get it.
And they had to make a financial decision not to attend this World Cup. Is that right?
There's lots of things in my life I couldn't afford, or can't afford at various times.
Oh, not anymore.
No, well, I'm fortunate enough. I worked hard enough not to be in that position. But through my 20s, I looked on with envy that I couldn't do this, and this. Ryder Cup, I've wanted to do that for years. I'm going to go next year. It's going to cost like 50 grand. I couldn't do that 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Yeah. And I get it was too expensive. I would have liked more fans to have had access to tickets. I get that totally. But it sold out. It was a commercial success. No matter what, everyone wants to write about it and bring all the political stuff into it and politicise it. It was a massive success as a World Cup. Probably the most commercially successful.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
Coming up for 10 to 11 on this Friday morning, I'm Alex Crook. He's Darragh MacAnthony, Peterborough owner and chairman. We've already been discussing Marcus Rashford's future at Manchester United. Keep your calls coming in on that, 0371722 3344. We're going to talk Newcastle and Arsenal's interest in Bruno Guimaraes before we leave you at 1 o'clock as well. So Crescencio Somerville has completed his move to Al Hilal, some £58 million, the fee. He signed a 4-year contract. In the last few minutes, as you've been hearing, Jurgen Klopp has been unveiled as the new Germany manager. He'll be in charge for the Euros here in the UK in a couple of years' time, and the next World Cup in 2030 in Spain, Portugal and Morocco. We look forward to that. Time now, though, to focus on the Commonwealth Games. The opening ceremony took place in Glasgow last night. Delighted to say Jonathan Rial, Team England's chef de mission, joins us on the programme. Jonathan, did the opening ceremony build up the hype amongst yourself and the team?
Good morning, Alex. Good morning, Tara.
Hey,
it was an absolute pleasure. Yeah, last night was fantastic. A real kind of cultural Glasgow celebration, obviously with sport at its heart. And we had 140 of our athletes there last night. So absolutely sets us up for a great day one and hopefully a good 10 days of sport ahead.
And who are we particularly looking forward to seeing from an England perspective? Who are the big medal hopes over the next few days?
Well, I mean, we've got 10 sports and 10 of them are Olympic program sports, 6 of them are Paralympic sports. So we've got a lot of medal hopes, Olympic, Paralympic and Commonwealth champions. So there's a lot of names. I think the first medal hope we have this morning is Mark Swan in the powerlifting, and then it moves at pace after that. So yeah, heading over to the powerlifting this morning. We've got medal hopes in the pool as well this afternoon. So it moves quick and fast after it starts this morning.
Good morning, young man. Listen, first of all, I want to wish you all the best and hope it's a phenomenal Commonwealth Games. So hopefully it'll be exciting. First question I've got for you, and I asked this the other day off our favourite dame. I said, give me 2 names that are going to be breakout stars from this one.
Oh, that's a good question. So I think this afternoon we will welcome our youngest athlete onto the field of play, which is Ursula Carroll. She's a visually impaired swimmer who will be competing tonight, and I think that just defines what the Commonwealth Games is about. Somebody who can come and really do her thing on that international stage. And I would imagine you can't look further than a sport like athletics, and you take someone like Georgia Hunter-Bell, and understanding that we have had a few withdrawals within that team, but Georgia, one of the very, very best athletes in the world and in great form, and I think we're all looking forward to seeing what Georgia and the team can do.
Well, listen, you mentioned withdrawals there, and that's something that's important that's come up. Yeah. And I want to ask you, because you're obviously the chief, the capitan. Quite a few of the athletes have pulled out and have not come to the Commonwealth. Not quite a few. You know, obviously there has been a few names, some with injury, and some have said they're preparing for, I think, the European Championships. And I guess the question I'm going to ask you, because it's important these games do well, and there's a lot of funding goes into some of these athletes, and the fact they haven't shown up or decided not to come, please tell me the truth. That must irk you and must frustrate you to a certain point, right?
Yeah, I think it's a really important conversation, and I think as a Team England, of course, we're absolutely devastated to see athletes have to withdraw, whoever they are, whichever kind of profile they are. We've had some high-profile athletes who have had to withdraw. I think the reality of these games, though, is one to be really reminded of. So, 18 months ago, there wasn't going to be a Commonwealth Games, and Scotland have stepped in and have delivered something that I'm really confident is going to be magic over the next 10 days. But 18 months in the life of an athlete isn't a very long time, and managing schedules is a really, really challenging thing. So yes, we have, especially in sport like athletics, we had a year which was always going to be really busy for our European teams. European Championships is very, very soon. And when you put Diamond Leagues on top of that, things like injuries, managing your schedules and trying to peak is a really key thing. So yes, we've had some athletes withdraw. I think the opportunity that gives to some of the newer athletes who will be stepping into a multi-sport games on an international stage is certainly what we're excited about. But yeah, I think it's the reality of a games which has come about a little bit later than normal.
I'm seeing this obviously in cricket now with all the T, whatever they're called, T20s, versus players not being ready for tests because they're getting paid more. So I'm going to ask you another question. And I know this is probably an uncomfortable conversation, but we want to give the Commonwealth Games plenty of coverage, and we want people to tune in. And that's why I asked who are the next superstars. But it frustrates me when I hear this. Have some of those people who've pulled out do they get funding, certain funding? And my next question would be, because you're the chief, is there no conditions to do with that funding that they should have to go to a Commonwealth Games? And if not, should that not be in their contracts when they get the funding?
Yeah, very good question. So the athletes who compete at the Commonwealth Games will be on a range of funding, everything from not getting funding at all, because maybe they're newer athletes into the system. You get athletes who may get UK sport funding, which comes directly from National Lottery, and you will have athletes who will receive some prize money and earnings, and they'll be capped out of getting any direct government funding for that. So, and that funding is, it will be spread between Commonwealth Games, Olympic Games, Paralympic Games. But I think it's kind of worth reminding the top amount of funding you can get through government funding is £28,000 a year. So I think, again, when you're looking at the conditions of that funding, we have to be realistic with an athlete being able to make a living, to compete at their best. And I think we understand, again, when it comes to these games, the reasons for some athlete withdrawals are really solid, and it's a real shame to lose some of those athletes. But like I said, the opportunity for some of those newer athletes to come and get just that first experience at this sort of level is an amazing one to see, where those athletes will go on to in the future. So that's what we're focusing on, certainly in the coming days and weeks. But yeah, very good question.
Darragh mentioned it already. We did have Dame Laura Kenny with us yesterday, and she pushed back on suggestions this year's Commonwealth Games have been downsized.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't like this word scale back. Everyone keeps saying scale back. It's not scale back in terms of the schedule. Like, the schedule's still ram-packed with loads of different sports, right? And I'm just grateful for Glasgow, I guess, taking it on, because, for me, if there was a missing piece of history, like if this Commonwealth Games never happened and it didn't exist, I just think that's a massive shame for such a huge event. I mean, there's only 2 multi-sport events that take place, one obviously being the Commonwealth Games and the other being the Olympic Games. And I just think if you were to miss one, that just would have been a shame. You're obviously always going to get sports. When they said that it was going to be like some sports were going to miss out, there was always going to be disappointment around that. But I think we should now obviously just look forward to what we have got. And it could be the fact that, other games moving forward actually learn from this games.
Got to say, she did a great job there, Laura, of promoting the Commonwealth Games yesterday. We've got Adam Peaty in action in the pool today as well. Jonathan obviously was 19 years of old when he won his first gold medal at the Commonwealth Games. That's something to look forward to today.
Yeah, it really is. Yeah, and I mean, to have an athlete like Adam and the caliber that he is wonderful for the team. And I think the passion that he's shown towards Commonwealth Games in general, but also this specific Commonwealth Games. And I think to Laura's point, we can get into semantics of words. There are less athletes and there are less sports here than there were in Birmingham. But I think we know the context and we know the why. The opportunity I think that this Games has is to really showcase not just a Commonwealth sport, to Olympic and to Paralympic sport, actually, how we can make such major games sustainable for the future. And I think I'd be the first one to say, if you look at Commonwealth history over the recent sort of editions, Australia and the United Kingdom being really heavily kind of involved in organising those. And I think we would really love to see a future for Olympic, Commonwealth Games, Paralympic Games, where actually the model is a bit more sustainable and maybe doesn't cost quite as much and gives the local hosts some flexibility in how they can benefit their communities, benefit their athletes, which maybe this Games just has that opportunity to really showcase new options and new ways of doing things.
Jonathan, thanks very much for joining us. Much appreciated. Good luck with the next couple of weeks. And I should tell you, there's a special Commonwealth Games programme live tonight on talkSPORT from 7 o'clock. Natalie Sawyer will have the former Olympian Greg Rutherford, former Dancing on Ice star as well, alongside her. This is talkSPORT. Is it going to disadvantage Arsenal that a lot of their players have gone deep into the draw? Martin Odegaard, who obviously had injury issues last season, made it all the way through to the quarterfinals. And you look at Chelsea, Cole Palmer,
They're all
fully
fresh.
presumably.
Yeah.
I think he had the summer off. Phil Foden at Manchester City.
Yeah, Fernando's got half of the World Cup final on. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get your point, and it's always interesting after a major championship, a World Cup, a Euros, South American one. How are the players going to be? Are they rested? I think the same at Liverpool. Some of the players coming back has Van Dijk. I know they didn't go deep, Holland, but again, he played more minutes than anyone last year. He was up there.
Got to the final.
Well, McAllister suddenly looked like the player we had 2 years ago. I don't know where that version of him was last year, so it'd be nice to see that for Liverpool this year. But I think Arsenal got a big squad. I think they recruited really well last year. I think they'll recruit again this summer. It would be foolish to bet against them. It'll be interesting to see how they handle it. But you've obviously got then the Champions League. You've got all the cup games. And the biggest thing for me last year is when I saw Declan Rice playing a League Cup game.
Yeah,
that was the thing, and my head fell off my shoulders. And you look at that guy. I don't just think he's physically exhausted. I think he's mentally exhausted. I saw him in that third place game, and after the game, he looked someone that was he looked like a ghost.
Yeah,
I'd be giving him 2 months off.
Really, not even.
I'd be giving. I'd be giving
because they've got the Community Shield in Cardiff.
I'd be saying to him, "You go away for a month. Go get a holiday with your family, and then we're going to do a month of light training, and you're not going to touch a football for a couple of months because that kid." He's not a kid, he's 27 now. He will be burnt out by...
Talk Sport.
With the headlines at 1 minute past 11, I'm Tom Clayton. Good morning. Jurgen Klopp is officially back in management. He's taken over the German national team after a 2-year hiatus from the dugout. German football expert Konstantin Eckner says Klopp has plenty of credit in the bank.
Even if he doesn't get the results early on, I think he still has time and he's not under immense pressure by the media and by the fans, at least early on. And I think also because he has so much credit, he is not afraid of dropping some of these aging players or players who just don't perform that well.
His first game will be away at the Netherlands in the Nations League as Germany are in a group with the Dutch, Serbia and Greece. Meanwhile, it suggests that Pep Guardiola has turned down the Italy job. Head of the Italian FA, Paolo Maldini, has admitted he first approached Brazil manager Carlo Ancelotti. Maxence Lacroix is set for a medical at Chelsea today. We understand Chelsea have agreed a £52 million fee with Palace. We've been told it'll take a lot more than £70 million to prize Bruno Guimaraes away from Newcastle. Bruno's said to be exploring his options amid interest from Arsenal. Lee Ryder from The Chronicle has told us this summer hasn't been a total disaster as some fans think, as they've made a lot of money and several young players have come in.
I'm kind of erring on the side of positivity. The window's not quite shut just yet. I'll judge it when it is shut.
This is Newcastle have confirmed midfielder Aladji Bamba has joined from Monaco on a 5-year contract. And 3 new contracts for Man City players are imminent. We understand all of Jeremy Doku, Josko Gvardiol and Abdulkadir Kuzanov are set to sign fresh 5-year deals. Get all the latest on the transfer market at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The families of the children murdered by the Southport killer have hit out at news he's being moved to a psychiatric hospital. And is Andy Burnham about to give the go-ahead for more North Sea drilling? Sinead has more at $5:30.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Today it's raining tyres in our centres, including top-notch brands like Pirelli. Visit your local centre or quickfit.com and book today.
Dry with plenty of sunshine for much of England and Wales. Cloudier across parts of Northern Ireland and Scotland with patchy rain. Feeling warm for many and hot towards the southeast.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
We are well into the second hour here on Friday morning. I'm Alex Crook alongside the Peterborough owner and chairman, the always outspoken Darragh MacAnthony, as Newcastle confirm the signing of Bamba from Monaco, Aladji Bamba, in a deal worth £35.5 million. He's penned a 5-year contract at St James's Park. So some good news at last for the Magpies. What about Elliot Anderson then? He was unveiled officially as a Manchester City player yesterday. And after Morgan Rogers' claim that Chelsea are, quotes, the biggest club in London, Anderson seems to be playing similar mind games with Manchester United. He described Manchester City as the Kings of Manchester.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest derbies in the world, and for as long as I've known Manchester, City has been the Kings of Manchester. So yeah, it'll be a great fixture, and I can't wait to be involved in something like that. I think just the winners, you know, the relentless, and that's the sort of team I want to be a part of, is champions and people who win trophies. And yeah, so as I say, over the last 10, 12 years, it's they've dominated, so that's why I wanted to join.
Strong words from Elliot Anderson.
He's just telling the truth.
I mean, he's telling the truth when it comes to trophies. Historically, though, you would agree that Manchester United and Liverpool are the two biggest clubs in the country?
They are, but if you're talking in Manchester terms at the moment, unfortunately for you as a United fan, City are the Kings of Manchester.
All those empty seats might tell us a slightly different story.
And you know what? That's every person's favourite go-to with fans. Oh, empty seats, empty seats. It doesn't stop the fact that City have been the Kings. And down the line, United might be the Kings again, but right now, he picked the bigger club, success-wise.
And on that basis, were United ever really a serious part of the conversation? They'll say the transfer fee was too high, but he was only ever going to City, wasn't he?
Yeah, no chance. I mean, I saw that during the summer, and I think you mentioned it a few times. United were in, and they were in for him and him for him, and I thought, nah, not a chance in hell. When was the last time United spent £110 million on a player? So that was never their market, in my opinion. Look, good signing for City. Be really interesting, particularly if Rodri leaves. Although I think he's having back surgery or whatever else. But
he's going to miss the start of the season.
Yeah, but if Madrid come in for him or whatever else, is that what City are doing? You know, insurance proofing for the future. And he's a terrific player. I think there's a lot more to him. It's really interesting watching him play for England. I saw him play for Bristol Rovers a couple of seasons ago. It was almost a different player, different position. You know, the goals, the assists, and then obviously playing this more disciplined role for England. So I think you're getting a player at a great age for City. Next 10 years, perfect.
Are you surprised that when they sold him, and I know Eddie Howe was a reluctant seller at the time, but Newcastle sold him to Nottingham Forest for PSR purposes, they didn't put a sell on in the contract? Because Simon Jordan was absolutely bamboozled by that.
I'm astonished by that, yeah. I am shocked by that. That's, you know, I don't know what happened there. Is the director of football still there who did that deal? No. Okay, so we'll throw him under the bus and say that is disgraceful. You have to have a sell on everything, and I mean everything, when you have a deal. So
I think that was it Dan Ashworth? I think it was still in.
I'm very surprised at Dan, and I'm not going to throw Dan under the bus because, you know, I like Dan. But I'd be very surprised if that was either Dan or maybe, I don't know, football administration. That was a big boo-boo, because you're talking about what, potentially another 15, 20 million quid. You've seen it with Middlesbrough this summer and other clubs and whatever else. And Man City themselves still make sell-ons from all these young players that keep getting sold. But look, Newcastle made a mistake with that one. I'm sure they look back and go, that was a mistake. But then again, they probably didn't see what we're all seeing now, because he was, 2 years younger, 3 years younger. What Forest
didn't know a great deal about him at the time, did we really?
Well, I knew about him from, as I said to you, I'd seen him in the lower leagues.
Did you see him as someone who would one day go on to be a £116 million footballer?
Not a chance. And I'm sure at Newcastle, you know, he's a local lad. He wanted to do well there. So, look, very good player. And the good news is we keep one of the better players that should become a world-class player down the line in the Premier League.
And at one of the top clubs.
Yep.
As much as it pains me to say it. £100 million seems to be the new norm now when it comes to midfielders. So here's a question for you. In terms of who's got the best value for money, you look at Moises Caicedo, his move from Brighton to Chelsea sort of started this trend. Yep. Declan Rice, transformative for me in terms of Arsenal winning the first title in more than 2 decades. Morgan Rogers, who's just gone to Chelsea for 117 million, different profile to the others that we're talking about. And Elliot Anderson. Which one?
Rice. Rice is the best value for money so far, because the proof's in the pudding and Rice has delivered the title.
See, we did there. The proof is in the rice pudding.
Oh, sorry, yeah. Very good. No, because he's won the title.
It's a shame England got mullered at the Argentina game.
I understand that. Very clever. He delivered. He won the title, and, you know, you'd like to think he's probably a future Arsenal captain. So
he's a leader already, isn't he?
He's already a leader. He's a terrific player. I think Graham Souness was picking at him. And with constructive points, but I still think Declan Rice is a world-class player, and he's one of them guys who, with a broken ankle, he'd play. You know, you see some players play 25, 30 games every season, and then you see a player like Rice who will consistently, statistically, play 50-plus games every year because he's reliable. So, value for money, him. I'm not saying Elliot Anderson can surpass that, but obviously he's got years on his side.
What about the 117 million for Morgan Rogers?
It's an inflated market, but you're getting a 23-year-old, you're getting an attacking player, you're getting an England player. He's not world class yet. He's done incredibly well at Villa. If Chelsea win a title or two in the next 5 years and he's played a part in that and he's dominated in the Premier League, he'll be, 27, 28? So too early to call on that.
And it does bring into question Bruno Guimaraes. I think the reason that Newcastle are so frustrated with some of these figures that are being talked about.
He's 29 though.
Yeah.
He's 29.
But they look at...
None of the players we've just mentioned were 29.
How old's Tonali?
Tonali was 26, I believe.
So there's a big difference.
3 years. Of course there is. And with all due respect, if you're paying 120 million for a 23 to a 26-year-old, you're getting 5 to 7 years out of them. So you amortise that money over time. It's actually good value for money if the player is available every season. I'm not saying Guimaraes isn't a world-class player or a top player in the Premier League. He is, but nearly 100 million for a player that age.
Yeah.
Like I said yesterday, my advice would be get as much as you can. Get 80. Get him to throw 20 million in add-ons on Champions League and league titles so you can go out and say it's a £100 million package and basically move on and reinvest the money and refresh things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it'll be interesting to see. We understand the new bid from Arsenal may have gone and it's worth.
Well, I'm hoping they went
£70
direct
million
instead of talking through you guys. I hate all of that stuff.
And I think that's Newcastle are getting a bit frustrated by the Brits. Even though, by the way,
I'm with them.
I think Guimaraes told them towards the back end of last season, if an opportunity comes to join a bigger club,
that's very nice.
I would like to explore it.
That's nice. I love how players tell you that and decide that they want to leave. But that he's not negotiating the transfer. So it would be nice if the club who want him, if it's true, pick up the phone, email, fax, send it via Royal Mail, but make an offer properly.
And can I just say, by the way, because you've got me a bit of stick from Newcastle fans,
and deservedly
allegedly putting me in my place the other
deservedly
day.
so.
I love Newcastle.
Not allegedly.
I wrote a book about
allegedly.
Newcastle. I've been a massive supporter of Eddie Howe. Known him since he was a player.
Allegedly.
Know Jason Tyndall very well. I want Newcastle to do well. Okay?
All fair, you call them deluded.
I've got no axe to grind. I've got no axe to grind with Newcastle. Just want to chuck that out there before you get me in even more trouble. I'm there on the opening day of the season. I don't want to have to wear a.
Are you there the opening game?
I am.
Don't be a coward. Don't be a coward.
No, but I do. I've got a lot of affinity with Newcastle. I said when Kevin Keegan passed, 95, 96, one of my favourite seasons as a fan.
Unbelievable.
You know, that title race, that United nicked the title from them, really.
So unlike you, my experience in Newcastle is we'd been promoted to the champ. We went out to play against Andy Carroll and co. I was driving in behind the coach, you know what I mean? We're going in under the tunnel. It was the most intimidating things I've ever witnessed in my life. When we got out of the car, for some reason, you walk out and you go out to the pitch side and you look up. The stadium felt like it was 200,000 people.
Fans are up there.
Oh my God.
In the heavens.
Oh my God. And Andy Carroll battered us for basically 90 minutes. We lost 3-1. And it was like the most sobering experience. But every time the Newcastle fans came to our place, full sellout, great atmosphere. So I've got really fond memories of Newcastle.
It's a great football club. And I feel sorry.
Backtracking.
No, I feel sorry for them that they're having to sell players for PSR. I do.
No, you don't.
I do. I wrote a book about it.
We should to make money. We should get a lie detector test on here because you're full of S. You know you are. I don't know why you guys don't tell the truth. You actually make more money and be more in demand.
I'm being honest.
Nah.
Newcastle are not one of the teams.
I ain't having that. The producer's laughing with me as well. We have pre-production meetings, people.
He has a go at me for defending Eddie Howe.
He's lying.
He has a go at me for defending Eddie Howe.
Listen, Eddie Howe is unbelievable. I was flying in to interview him for the job at Peterborough. True story.
Well, he had a narrow escape.
From Spain. He did have a narrow escape. He stayed at Bournemouth, and that was when they were in League Two.
Yeah. Look at him now.
No, fair play. Look at me how I pick talent out.
Let's talk about Enzo Maresca, shall we? He is speaking to the media for the first time this afternoon as Manchester City manager. Is he guaranteed to be a success there, do you think?
No.
Because he wasn't one you put in your top 5 Premier League managers a couple of days ago.
I saw a lot of the football at Leicester and the champ. I didn't. I'm not sure if Leicester fans would agree with me or not. I know they went up. I didn't find it sexy or riveting at the time. I think he did well at Chelsea. I don't like his behaviour at the end. I think his toys went out of the pram, and when it suited him, suddenly he's got Man City calling. Well, now I don't like how the ownership is at Chelsea. I don't like the model, and I'm not getting players.
He knew in January he was going to be.
I hate when managers act like spoiled brats and start using that to their advantage, but they were in such a rush to sign the contract. So here's what's going to happen to Man City for him. If he doesn't push close for a title run and it looks good on paper, he's not going to get time there. The Man City fans are hungry for titles, as we know, and we've just heard they're kings of Manchester. They're going to want to win a title. It's been a couple of years, right? So is it the longest period that they haven't won a title now? Is it 2 seasons in a row? This will be the 3rd season without a title. So I think if Man City go 3 years without a title, he'll be under pressure and only been there in his first year. Be interesting to see how it all stacks up.
Yeah, be interesting to see what he says this afternoon as well. No doubt you'll be able to hear from the new Manchester City manager during H&J as well. We're going to talk about Jermaine Defoe next, actually. Walked out on Woking after just 4 months in charge yesterday. We're going to get Darragh's view on that. Stay tuned. You are listening to Alex Crook and Darragh MacAnthony in for White and Jordan on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com.
Jack Grealish.
Yep.
Also going to be back at Man City.
Yep.
Next season.
It'd be interesting to see what happens with Jack if he's given a chance by Maresca, because he would have been part of that Man City squad that Maresca was at. Or will the manager think, no? And will Jack think, you know what, maybe I want to move on? I think it's still early doors. I think we have to see what happens over the next 6 weeks. You know, still 6 weeks left of the transfer window. Start of September, it closes. I don't see him staying there. I see him moving on.
Where?
It wouldn't surprise me if he moves somewhere else in Europe. I don't see him staying in the Premier League.
Mm.
I think he's still got 1 year left, I think, of his contract. So the wages as well, will that be a problem for some of the clubs, maybe in the Premier League? But don't rule out maybe back to Everton. David Moyes loved him.
Yeah, he did well there.
Yeah, he done very well there.
Did well there. Okay, interesting. And then, of course, Rodri, reportedly waiting for Real Madrid president Florentino Perez to sanction his return to Spain. And then there's growing support for the move in the capital after he skippered them to the World Cup. Of course, as well, he's linked to Real Madrid. Do you see that one getting done?
It depends, because I did see that from Perez saying that it's not something that they want to do. And I don't think Manchester City are going to let him go on the cheap. I think before the World Cup, they maybe would have negotiated a deal. But his performances in the World Cup was the Rodri that won the Ballon d'Or a couple of seasons ago. That Rodri I wouldn't sell for anything less than 80, 90, 100 million if I'm Manchester City. He's that good. And he's one of them players, Rodri, Shaban, that will play deep into his 30s. You know, just...
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. We're ready for the action. Are you? Visit betmgm.co.uk or download the app. 18 plus. Gambleaware.org.
Yes, once again, it's the time of the show. We give you the chance to walk away with up to £1,000 in association with BetMGM. Joining us now, randomly selected from all our numerous online entries, is Adam. Adam, how are we?
Oh, good, Alex. You?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. How confident are you feeling? The player yesterday got all 5 right, won himself £1,000.
Well, for the same.
Okay, here's how it works. I'm going to ask you a total of 5 football-related questions. For every one you get right, you'll get £200. So the maximum you can walk away with today is £1,000. Are you ready?
Yep.
Okay, which co-host nation dominated Group A at the World Cup, finishing perfectly with 3 wins, 9 points, and 0 goals conceded?
Mexico.
Correct. Which Manchester City player won the FA Cup for the 2nd successive year after winning it with Crystal Palace 12 months prior?
Gay.
Correct. Which European powerhouse won Group H without conceding a single goal, finishing with 7 points at this summer's World Cup?
We're doing Spain.
Would have been. Which English sensation scored a brace against Norway in the quarterfinals of this year's World Cup?
Bellingham.
Correct. And finally, which goalkeeper won the Golden Glove Award after keeping the most clean sheets in the Premier League during the 25-26 season?
David Raya.
Of course, didn't kick a ball for Spain at the World Cup. Thanks very much, Adam. Delighted to sell you. You've got 5 out of 5, £1,000 coming your way.
Perfect, thanks very much.
No problem at all. That was all thanks to BetMGM, 18+, gambleaware.org.
It's showtime on talkSPORT with BetMGM. Keep things golden with responsible play at betmgm.co.uk. 18+, gambleaware.org.
Now, let's focus our attentions to a big story in the National League that developed overnight. Jermaine Defoe, former England and Tottenham striker, leaving his post as manager of National League Woking after just 4 months and 6 league games in charge. Defoe described his first managerial job as, quote, an eye-opening experience. He was named the replacement for the experienced Neil Ardley in March. He won 2 of those 6 matches, guided Woking to 10th place in the National League last season. Yesterday, Woking confirmed Defoe's short-lived tenure was over after they mutually agreed to part ways with immediate effect just 2 weeks before their opening match of the new season against Sutton. We did ask Jermaine Defoe to come on the programme. He, via his agent, declined, but he has put out a post on social media saying, unfortunately, circumstances have ultimately made it impossible for me to continue in the position. I'm extremely proud of the work undertaken during my time at the club. Genuinely felt that we were building something special. My time at Woking has been an eye-opening managerial experience and one that undoubtedly will make me stronger for the next challenge in my career. Cue eye-rolling from Darragh MacAnthony to my left.
Screams of high maintenance. Look,
it was a strange job to take in the first place, wasn't it?
No, I'm going to give him massive credit for that, because I always have a dig at these managers, ex-players who walk into dream management jobs. And I love the fact, like Lampard recently, do you know what I mean, has gone from the Premier League, dropped into the Champ, and he's made his way back up. Now, I look at Defoe, and I know his agent has been trying to get him job interviews the last couple of years. He wants to be a manager, a coach. I love it. I absolutely love it. I love the fact he took the Woking job. Great club. I actually had 50 grand deposit in escrow to buy Woking 20 years ago before Peterborough, and it fell apart. It was of a land thing to do with the previous owners. So, a wonderful club, good spot. He's gone there. I'd like to know more, but the reality is what it's all screaming at the moment is, well, you know, I'm not getting what I want player-wise, and and you know, and then he's obviously making those comments, which is alluding to more without saying what it is. I don't love that. I'd like to...
You think he should have come on the programme and explained
himself? No, I think he should have stayed there, and I think he should have worked hard, and I think he should have got on with it, like a lot of managers up and down the country who don't always get what they want, who don't have an open checkbook, who have to deal with lack of training facilities, lack of this, lack of that. Modern day managers do make me laugh, and it's not a dig at Jermaine Defoe. When you speak to Barry Fry and legends of the game, the conditions they had to deal with, the pitches, the facilities, the lack of food, you know, available for players, the lack of money available, and they got on with it and they managed their way up to 1,000 games as legends of the game. That's gone now. Particularly when you get players who are multimillionaires coming from the Premier League. It's going to end in one way. It's either going to be a dream ticket or a disaster.
Well, clearly the intimation there from Jermaine Defoe is that he didn't get things all his own way. I think we've spoken to sources close to Defoe, and they've suggested there's a disagreement between him and the director of football. The director of football, Jody Brown, actually has also been on social media overnight. He says, of the vast number of trialists, I did not choose one. Jermaine led all recruitment and all trialists, all Jermaine's contacts, all linked to him, every single one. Empty promises, ? We gave everything that was asked, everything. I'm sure it'll all come out in due course.
And the problem for Jermaine, if you're his agent, whatever else, if I could get hold of him, I'd say, stop all that nonsense. You know, you leave a club, you leave a club.
Yeah.
You know, come up with a deal with a club where you're saying it's for other opportunities and you were, you know, helping the club out, whatever. But now you've basically tarnished yourself a little bit, where the next club that potentially hires you is thinking, well, is this going to happen again? The minute we don't give you what you want, or the minute we sell your best player, you know, is this going to be then run on social media? That's not how it's done. So, you know, I think sometimes a lot of these top players should go in and do more coaching before they become managers. I like what John Terry did, where he went and worked for a few managers at 2 different clubs at the time. And I think that's the right way to go about it when you want to work your way up.
He was part of the coaching staff at Rangers and Tottenham, Jermaine.
For long?
For a little while. I think he was at Spurs for a couple of years, wasn't he?
Was he though? I'm not sure he was there long.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just saying that I don't like how it looks. And if he wants to be a manager, sometimes this is the nitty-gritty real world you're dealing with. And by the way, Woking are no mugs. It's a decent-sized club in National League level.
Yeah, finished 10th last season.
That's what I'm saying.
Would have hoped for better this season as well. I mean, what does the future hold for Jermaine Defoe now? I think
I'll give you an example.
What you're basically saying before you do that is that the circumstance in which he's left and the way he's handled his departure would put you off as a future employer?
It would look to me like I'd be like, oof, I'd have to definitely do multiple interviews. He could be high maintenance. I'll give you an example. Robbie Savage is a pal of mine. He rang me when we were out in camp in La Cala, and he was talking to me about, selling the best player to Hearts, and this was going on and that was going on. And he was just asking me advice on certain things, and he handled it with dressing rooms and whatever. And I love Robbie. He's just like, he gets on with it. He worked at Macclesfield. He's now working in Forest Green. He's working his way up the ladder. And I'm sure there are loads of things that have gone on at Macclesfield, Forest Green, whatever else that he doesn't love. But he just gets on with his job because he knows he wants to be a manager. So sometimes resistance is better than, I'm not going to say quitting, but it's just get on with it. That's what you want to be, a manager. You've got one of the dream jobs. There's only, 92 jobs between the EFL and non-league? You've got one of them. You've got one of them. Go do the job.
And you've been in a recent position where you've changed managers.
Yep.
You hired Luke Williams.
Yep.
Still waiting for you to reply to me about that, by the way, but I'll let you off. How many applicants did you have for that job?
I want to say 97.
Which is incredible. That shows you how much desire there is out there to be a manager in
They're the ones we knew about.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, absolutely. And the interview process is extensive. And, I would I have had Defoe on that list at the time? No, not at the time. But if he'd gone, because Luke Williams got on my list from what he did at Notts County and National League. So I knew about him as a coach, but I love what he did at Notts County. So we studied him when Darren was thinking about leaving a couple of years ago. Do you know what I mean? So basically, if Defoe had gone and killed it at Woking and he had them top 7 and he didn't have a big budget, and what he could come out and say was that we don't have the biggest budget, we don't have these players, but we're doing okay. If he pulled a Scunthorpe or a Boreham Wood who miracle worked last year, I'd have had him on my list. Top 10. I'd have said, look, young, up and coming. Yes, he's got a bit of celebrity status to him, but actually he's a good manager. So, for me, it'd be like, not sure about that now. And now it's turned into a fight. It's a he said, she said situation. I don't love it.
Not ideal. You mentioned John Terry there, who's made no secret of the fact he wants to get into management.
Yep.
But it does look like that ship has sailed now.
No, he's still young. But I think, look, JT's obviously, got a lot of money. The one thing I've always looked at him and thought to myself, well, is JT going to want to spend 24 hours a day travelling away from his family, a young family and whatever else with all the wealth? I think there's a burning desire in him to prove everybody wrong. And I think at some stage what he needs to do is he needs to, when he gets an interview, whether it's League One, League Two, wherever it be, and go, look, you got my word, this isn't about money, and you're going to have me night and day. Because I do think he'd make a good manager, John Terry. I do.
Why do you think no one's giving him a chance?
Because they're probably frightened of the fact that, A, he's too expensive, they think, and he's probably not. And they probably think, well, he lives in Surrey, he's a wealthy guy, is he going to put the hours in? Let me give you an idea. Luke Williams, his family live in Wales.
Yeah.
He spends 5 days a week away from them working, double sessions all day long. And some would question and go, well, somebody from the Premier League who's a multi-millionaire with a property empire, would they want to put the same hours in? And I'm not having a go at John Terry, by the way, because I think, like I've just said, he's underrated, and I think he would make a great manager.
Jason from Newcastle Underline was text. He said Defoe resignation reeks of not getting the budget he wanted, not chance. He gets another chance anywhere. Absolutely loving Alex Crook and Darragh MacAnthony. A great pairing up there with White and Jordan.
It doesn't say your name on there. By the way, Kieran Dyer at Southend, good appointment, absolutely bang on.
Yeah.
We've watched some of their games pre-season. Let me tell you, he's got something.
Well,
Dyer's got something.
And listen, they deserve to be back in the Football League. They've had a really difficult spell of it.
So
good luck to them.
Great job.
Topic that I think you're going to want to get involved in coming up after the news. The Norwegian FA set to make a formal complaint to FIFA's Ethics Committee over Donald Trump getting that ban lifted for Flo Balogun.
Old news.
This is Crook and MacAnthony on talkSPORT.
If it is true, that is the one for Tottenham, the one that got away. If you think about what Abramovich did to Chelsea, did to Premier League football, did to world football, he was a benefactor.
He turned you into a big
monster. Yeah, he turned us into a monster.
Yeah, he did, because you wasn't a big club before him. He was an average size club.
I mean, we certainly, if you want to do this, which I don't suggest you should, but if you want to do this, in the 10 years prior to Abramovich, Chelsea won more than you've won in the Premier League era.
Up the gels.
In the 10 years...
Honestly, you and Cundy,
in the 10 years... Well, because you can't let it go. You say one thing and I just...
One thing, I literally just said one thing and that was it. Bang, I got the fishing rod out.
In the 10 years prior to...
big one.
You have. In the 10 years prior to Abramovich taking over Chelsea, so just go the 10 years prior to that, Chelsea won more than Tottenham have in the entire Premier League era. So you want to, you know, when you know that run.
Would you win the Cup Winners' Cup?
We won. We did win the Cup Winners' Cup. Yeah. Yes, we did.
Good trophy.
We did win the Cup Winners' Cup. Yes, we did.
We won the Audi Cup.
We won the FA Cup. We won the League Cup. We won the Super Cup, beating Real Madrid in Monaco. Gus Poyet scoring the winner. We didn't lose to Tottenham at home for 27 years. A lot of that record obviously stretched into that pre-Abramovich period.
Yeah.
We didn't. I mean, we were calling it 3-point lane.
Been 3-point lane for a while.
We were calling it 3-point lane
Chelsea
way before Roman Abramovich came along.
Still is for yous.
talkSPORT News.
Good morning. With your headlines, I'm Sinead Garvan. The families of the children murdered by the Southport killer say he is manipulating the system. Axel Rudagabana is being moved from prison to Broadmoor Psychiatric Hospital, where he'll be treated as a patient rather than an inmate. The government says this does not change his sentence and are confident he'll be back in jail to serve his 52 years as soon as possible. Number 10 North has opened its doors for business today. The idea is to move some decision-making away from Westminster. Andy Burnham will chair the first meeting at the new base in Manchester later. He'll lead talks of the National Economic Council, focusing on boosting economic growth and investment. Here's our reporter, Ollie Cole.
The group was last set up by Gordon Brown as an emergency response to the 2008 financial crash. Andy Burnham now thinks economic growth in the UK needs the same urgent emphasis. He'll speak to business leaders and industry bodies before discussing the delivery with mayors and ministers.
Ministers say the UK's exporters won't pay more despite Donald Trump's new tariffs. They affect 60 trading partners over what Washington says is a failure to block imports made with forced labour. And temperatures are set to reach 30 degrees again today across central and southern England. Yellow heat health alerts are in place, but there is some rain coming over the weekend. However, forecasters don't think it will help with drought-hit areas.
talkSPORT Sports Headlines with Bostik. For workable, easy-to-apply mortar that tools easily, pros trust Bostik.
We're told Jurgen Klopp won't be under immediate pressure as Germany boss, and we understand Pep Guardiola has turned down the Italian job. Nick has more at midday.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
Tell you what, if we could record some of these off-air conversations, we would both be in huge trouble. 11:30 on a Friday morning. That's Darragh MacAnthony, Peterborough owner and chairman to my left. I'm Alex Crook. We are with you all the way through until 1 o'clock as the fallout from the 2026 World Cup continues with the news the Norwegian FA are ready to make a formal complaint to FIFA's Ethics Committee over Donald Trump's intervention in the USA striker Flo Balogun having his suspension lifted. Of course, Balogun was sent off for the USA in the last 32, then allowed to play in the last 16 game against Belgium. They were subsequently beaten by 4-1. Let's hear from President Trump now, who admitted to calling his pal Gianni Infantino to get that ban lifted. We're going to hear that in just a second.
These were
Actually,
two
here we go.
great athletes that got tangled up, and this referee who is a little bit suspect. If you check his past, I don't want to say that because I don't like to create controversy, but very suspect. And he gave him a red card. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't think it meant much. Then I started hearing that means he can't play in the next game, at least in the next game. And I related just that feel. I didn't tell him what to do. I can't tell him what to do, but. And I don't believe he made the decision. I think it was a committee that made the decision. All I did was ask for a review. I didn't say, you have to do this. This man is a smart, tough man. Gianni Infantino. He's a smart, tough man. and his stock has gone through the roof because what the job he's done has been great.
There you go, President Trump then giving his view on the Flo Balogun red card and indeed his role in it being overturned, the suspension anyway, suspended of course. Nick McGeehan, co-founder of Fair Square, joins us now. Nick, just give us your take on this whole incident and the fact the Norwegian FA are looking at making a formal complaint to FIFA.
Hi, Alex. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Yeah, a remarkable incident, but one that probably is part of a pattern in terms of Infantino cozying up to Trump. I think previously, a lot of the concerns were off-field. What the Balogun affair did was brought these controversies on-field, and bringing issues of competitive integrity into play. So I think that's why the furore erupted over it. The Norwegian intervention isn't hugely surprising. They have been by far the most progressive federation in terms of trying to hold FIFA to account. They supported the complaint that we filed against Infantino in December after he gave Trump the Peace Prize. They're really going out on a limb here. They're really sticking their head above the parapet in terms of doing this. All credit for them for doing it. It would be great to see some other federations doing so. It'd be nice to see the English FA, for example, weighing in on this. But so far, it's just the Norwegians.
I don't want to get your green card rescinded, Darragh, so you've got to choose your words carefully here. But what do you make of this whole situation? It is outrageous. The US president feels he can get a suspension lifted and that Gianni Infantino is going to listen to him.
I actually thought the actual red card was more outrageous, but yeah, I hear what you're saying. Trump shouldn't have got involved. Listen, at the end of the day, yes, I'm an American resident citizen, and I just thought, again, it overshadowed, what was a great World Cup. And we're still talking about it now. But that's his character, that's his personality, love him or hate him, he's going to get involved. He's patriotic as well as being the president, and
But FIFA should have stood up to him, shouldn't they?
Yeah, of course.
Rules are rules.
Chihani, or Johnny as he likes to call him, should have just turned around and said, yeah, that's not happening and it can't happen, and that should have been the end of the matter. But equally, I would also say from a sporting perspective, we should have had post-action where the red card could have been reversed, because it was a terrible red card.
And obviously this didn't impact Norway directly. They lost to England in the quarterfinals, but do they deserve a bit of credit for the fact they're standing up morally to FIFA?
I couldn't care.
Well, that maybe says more about you than them, no?
Fair enough, but it's like, what's going to happen? How's it going to change, my life today?
Well, it's not going to change that.
Yeah, okay.
They can't revoke that decision, but it might make FIFA think twice in the future.
What's the end goal? What's the end goal here? Everyone
to
wants
make sure this doesn't happen again.
No, okay, there's that. But is the end goal to get Infantino out? Is that the end goal?
Well, potentially, although it looks like he's still got a groundswell of support, including, by the way, from the English FA.
Yeah, probably. I'm not FIFA's biggest fan, but I just don't think that's going to change in the next 2 or 3 years. So look, fair play to Norway for putting themselves out there in an island. There's not enough people maybe doing it, but I don't think anything's going to change.
Nick, what do you think Norway's end goal is here? What is your end goal? Because I think Fair Share have also filed a complaint.
Our end goal is reform of FIFA. Because the game's really important and it shouldn't be this badly run, and you shouldn't have people like Trump interfering in the rules. It's really important. I understand the apathy, Darragh's apathy there. It's something you see in a lot of places. But if we care about this game and if we think rules are important, then it's important that we all stand up and we all say the rules count and the rules should matter. And the Norwegians are doing it, and others should do it. You're on this talk show, you're, talking to people who care about football, who are fascinated by it. And if we don't respect the rules and if we allow them to be thrown out the window willy-nilly by people like Trump, then where are we going with the game? What's the point? The game's in a terrible downward spiral. The trajectory, the direction of travel is appalling. And this is the moment for us to step in. So I all credit to the Norwegians. We need more of it. We need a lot more of it.
What direction of travel is the game heading, in your opinion?
Sorry, I didn't catch that.
What you say the direction of travel is very worrying. What do you mean by that?
Well, FIFA's changed from just a dysfunctional organisation into a really dangerous one. They're propping up people like Trump. They're supporting his political agenda. They're propping up people like Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia. They're giving support to people like Vladimir Putin in Russia. They are a handmaiden to authoritarians around the world right now. Now, that might not concern all sorts of people, but the way in which that is now infecting the game itself and the product on the pitch should surely be of concern to people who don't worry about the geopolitical stuff.
Darragh?
Yeah, look, we could argue about this and debate this for the next 3 hours. That's a lot of accusations made. And like I said, I'm not FIFA's massive fan. I'm certainly not Infantino's massive fan. We need a longer show to go through every single one of those accusations, and there are a lot of big accusations made in there about propping up, was it Trump, propping up Putin, propping up whatever else. I'm not sure I agree with all of that.
Well, Nick, you've done a lot of research into this, so just explain some of those comments you've just made.
Well, the substance of the complaint against Gianni Infantino with the Ethics Committee is that he has offered repeated political support for President Trump, including giving him a FIFA Peace Prize. So he has demonstrated clear support for a man whose political agenda is questionable.
According to you.
What the part about offering political support, or the part about it being questionable?
No, I'm just saying, you're saying questionable. Again, whether you're a Trump supporter or not a Trump supporter, that's open to interpretation.
That is open to interpretation. That's not the substance of our complaint. He's not allowed to give political support to anyone. Whatever you think about Trump, he shouldn't be giving political support to the people who I favour or who you favour. That's not the issue. The issue is if you allow the game to become politicised, then it can be bought by whoever's got the money to buy it. And unfortunately, I think that is a pattern. The Saudi Arabia has great control over FIFA right now because of the money that they're pumping in. Trump has been able to exert a lot of control over FIFA because of the transactional nature of that relationship. And that's what I mean about the direction of travel. The rules of political neutrality are there to prevent the organisation from being bought by nation states and being used for the political agendas of whoever, people on the left, people on the right, people in the centre. The game can't be used in that way, and that's the problem we're facing right now.
If you run FIFA, whether you're Infantino, whether you're whoever else, and you have to expand the game globally all over the world and into new markets and new areas and whatever. And surely there's some good stuff FIFA have done, by the way. We can't just be all one side here that FIFA's the evil devil and Infantino's sitting at the top of the throne. And you have somebody in there running FIFA. Are they not going to have to deal with various characters, no matter where they are, in various continents around the world, whether we like them or we don't like them, whether they're on the left, on the right, and to push the game, to market the game, to grow the game, to get more money floating back through the game, particularly to the smaller nations and to grassroots and all of that kind of thing? Aren't you going to have to do, not questionable things, but aren't you going to have to charm and be in the room with some of these leaders, regardless who they are? That's a serious question.
I'm trying to think back to USA 94. Bill Clinton would have been president then, wasn't he?
Sure.
Did he have a big hand in that tournament, the same way Trump did?
Again, do you get what my point about it? That you've got to make relationships and you've got to go into rooms you might not like being in. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
I totally agree. Yeah, they have to do that, right? But diplomats do that all the time.
Sure.
You can do that in a way that respects rules on political neutrality. So you don't have to go all in and sort of express support for certain political agendas. That's the problem with what Infantino has done. In terms of one thing I would raise, they talk about, developing the game and putting money into developing nations. There's not much evidence of that. That's a big problem with FIFA. And I agree with you that FIFA is not this massive devil. It is an organisation that is beset by structural problems, right? There's good people in there who are unable to do good things because of the structure. And one of the things they're actually not doing, there's no proof that they're actually doing, is rediverting all this money that they are generating into the countries that need it most.
Yeah,
so that's 100%. One of the problems.
I would agree with that.
So I guess the other question on the back of this, Nick, is where do you think your complaint with the IOC will get you, and where do you think Norway's complaint with FIFA will get them?
I don't think we're going to see these organisations, either FIFA or the IOC, respond to these complaints in a way that's particularly positive. I think what they will do is they will demonstrate that there isn't great accountability, that when you provide clear evidence of wrongdoing and rule breaking, that they don't respond to that. And that's the type of thing that I think will encourage political intervention. And ultimately, I do think if we're going to make change at FIFA, then it is political intervention that's going to be required. And that is no simple task either. I'm not saying there's any sort of magic wand we can wave and sort of fix this organisation. But I think what the Balogun affair has shown us is just how bad and how deep the problems run. And just how radical the reform is required to get us back on track.
What are the steps that are needed to say, because I don't know this, to get rid of Infantino? What are the when's his term up? Has he got a contract?
He's just about to stand for re-election. I think he's already got support to get back in.
Obviously, from some of the nations, he's obviously awarded a lot of stuff to. But what are the steps?
Including the English FA Bowl.
Listen, I'm not getting involved in that because I don't know that for a fact. Yep. So I just want to know, what are the steps? Give me your manifesto on the top 5 things that need to happen to make changes that you want.
Well, Infantino's a symptom of the problem, right? Getting rid of Infantino doesn't fix the problem. I think what we need right now is we need external political intervention to impose reform on FIFA. The key problem that FIFA has is the relationship between the senior leadership and the member associations. FIFA accumulates money, sends out all that money with no oversight on how it's spent, and what comes back is votes. What we've already seen since the World Cup ended is 200 member associations have said they already support Infantino's election. He is not going to be removed internally unless something shifts and there's some sort of coup, and suddenly the member associations decide that there's a better candidate they want in. But the organisation is completely unaccountable right now. It cannot be, governance cannot be imposed on from the outside. So what we need is a sort of political intervention to say you cannot run this organisation, which redistributes billions of dollars to its member associations. You can't run it this way. You have to run it in the way that you would run any sort of organisation of this nature. So as I say, the problems are huge in some respects. The fix is actually quite simple, but getting politicians to come in and actually impose that on FIFA, that's the challenge.
And before you go, Nick, a quick one for both of you. FIFA have been very big that political gestures should not be involved in football.
Sure.
What did you make then of the Argentinian players after that England victory unveiling a flag proclaiming the Falklands is ours, and there was no punishment?
I hated that.
That's clearly a political gesture.
There were a lot of double standards, and a lot of them went on during the World Cup, by the way. And again, not to get political, I hate all of the messaging in football. I'm a big advocate letting athletes get on with playing football and leave all the other stuff out of it, and we've seen it over the last 5 years. So I didn't like it at all. But again, and probably plays to your point, that FIFA, again, it's kind of one rule for you and one rule for someone else.
Yeah, because if Lionel Messi wasn't playing for Argentina, they probably would have been punished.
If that had been, I don't know, Cape Verde, who did it, they'd probably be banned from the next 2 World Cups. So yeah, the double standard stuff drives me mad.
Nick, appreciate you joining us on talkSPORT. I've got a feeling this situation with Infantino is going to run and run, but we'll just bring the temperature down a little bit in the next part of the programme as we turn our attention to some of the big breaking stories in the transfer market, including Maxence Lacroix's £52 million move to Chelsea.
What do you make of the transfers? And also Maddison's back. Maybe Kulusevski coming back as well. You've got some key players back as well.
I'm excited. I really am. It's going to be interesting to see what he does with the team. It looks like he's got some real kind of men in. Like with Tonali and Robertson, people who are going to, like leaders on the pitch. I think that's what we needed. It seems to me like he's going for a type of side who are going to have some energy in the middle of the park. With a bit of experience and kind of like a bit. I want to see a bit more like Housery from us, like a bit like Arsenal have done. A bit more like know how to win, and because we've been a soft touch, we've played some decent games, but then we'll throw away goals and points at the end of the game.
And it's time to embrace playing in that outstanding stadium. Getting a home crowd on side. Don't fear playing there like they have done for 2-3 years. Embrace it and make it a fortress.
I'm happy with what we've done so far. We've still got to figure out what we're going to do on the left. Like the left wing for me is an issue. Who's going to play out there? No, we don't want Garnacho.
You want to take over?
No, you take Garnacho, mate. He's a good player. Take Garnacho.
He's good. You have him.
Oh, I think he's a good player, mate.
Why don't you outbid us? Outbid us, mate.
I think.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
You are listening to talkSPORT on this Friday morning. Alex Crook and Darragh MacAnthony with you until 1 o'clock this afternoon when H&J will be taking over. Time to talk transfers now. Been a busy 24 hours in the window. Maxence Lacroix undergoing a medical at Chelsea. We broke the news on talkSPORT last night. That move from Crystal Palace to Chelsea is close. We understand the fee will be in the region of £52 million. That seems like decent money for Crystal Palace. For
Great
a player
business.
who...
26, 27, good player.
Yeah.
He's Premier League
Didn't
standard.
cover himself in glory in that third place game against England, particularly in the first half.
No, I get that, but he's very experienced. Obviously, for Chelsea, it's what they need. They've been crying out for a little bit more experience at the back, particularly Premier League experience. Great business by Parish again. I'm sure they'll reinvest the money. They'd probably buy a couple of £25 million defenders from summer and sell them for 70, 80 million in 2 years' time. So that's the cycle. That's the way it works.
Yeah, they're trying to sign Matt Seamer, a centre-back from Augsburg over in Germany, to replace Lacroix, but it looks like their asking price has gone up on the back of this 52 million that Palace have got for Maxence Lacroix.
Quite normal. You know, you try and when you're selling players, you're trying to do secret deals beforehand. You're trying to hold up those deals to happen, and then you get killed when it comes out publicly. So because everyone thinks that you've basically got Bruce's billions. So that's sometimes the timing of getting deals done. But Parish and Palace have been doing it so well the last few years. So I'm sure they'll definitely bring in couple of good replacements.
Just means on those two deals alone, though, Morgan Rogers and now Maxence Lacroix, two proven Premier League players, 169 million.
Alonso's getting back.
Chelsea would have spent.
Yeah, but they brought in over 100 million, haven't they? What was Cucurella? What was Garnacho? What was the fellow who went to United? So they brought in pretty much.
Yeah, so actually, in
so
terms
what
of
they've
net
spent,
spend,
they've brought in. I mean, we all like to go on about Chelsea with their signings, but I think what they do really well, 300 million last year they brought in. I think they're one of the best clubs in the world at basically regenerating the wealth.
Player trading.
So they've done it really well. And good recruitment for Chelsea this summer.
Yeah, I think Axel Disasi was offered to Palace as part of those conversations. Doesn't necessarily look like that will happen. Charlie Cresswell, England under-21 international playing over in France, another player on Palace's radar. Could be a good move.
Yeah, again, I think in the 20 million bracket, 20, 25 million. So Palace, even after they lost Dougie Friedman, was a brilliant, technical director.
Is he over in Saudi now?
I think so. Yeah, and I presume he'll eventually come back once he does his 3 years.
He was linked with Spurs, wasn't he?
He was, because he's top class at his job. But like I said, Parish, the owners there, they've been doing it so long, it's second nature to them, isn't it? So they've got a great academy, really good setup. So it doesn't surprise me. What I like about them as well, they don't stand in a player's way if they get the right deal. Like my fans will go at me all the time. We sell players. We do it. Every football club sells players. And we always say, particularly if you're not one of the big dogs at the top of the table, you're not going to stand in someone's way as long as your price is met.
But you can use that to your advantage, can't you, if you're Crystal Palace? Because you can help attract players and say, look at the career progression. Mark Gay's gone to Manchester
As long
City.
as they realise they're coming to win.
Elise's going to Bayern Munich.
Get it. We've been faulted where players come to Peterborough because they get their move. No, players come to Peterborough, win a promotion, then get their move.
Right. So you still need the right mentality.
Yeah,
Again, it comes down to that character change.
You don't want someone coming at like a train station and sitting here for 5 minutes. You want them coming with the idea, hey, we're coming to win and prove, and then the rest takes care of itself.
For risk of alienating the Magpies, the Toon Army again, Bruno Guimaraes from Newcastle to Arsenal is the story that won't go away. If the offer is not in yet from Arsenal, it will be shortly, as we understand it, in excess of £70 million. What's the magic number? I mean, they're talking about 100 million. They're comparing him to Tonali, but because of the age, you're pretty clear.
Yeah, I think someone corrected me earlier. Bruno's 28, going on 29 this season. The magic number is probably 80 plus 20.
Yeah.
So it's an 80 guaranteed fee. Then you'd have 20 million on Champions Leagues, Premier League success, which Arsenal probably have no problem paying. So for that, then you're getting a truly wonderful, very experienced Premier League player who would improve Arsenal. So
do you think he's got the mobility to go and play?
I always worry. You watch him from Brazil with your pal Casemiro now, and it's like two alphalas in midfield at times.
That was a massive issue for Carlo Ancelotti.
And it's never been highlighted to me as much when I watched him with Casemiro. When I've seen him play for Newcastle with Tonali and others in there, he doesn't look like that.
So he needs runners in around him.
So probably. But he's still got that speed of thought on his head. He's that type of player as well, who I think will play probably till he's older.
Yeah.
So I think it's a really, really solid signing for Arsenal. And that's the market they're in now, where they're going to pluck the best players off other teams in the Premier League, and they're going to have to pay premium prices.
They did make a signing yesterday, Arsenal, because of course they missed out on
Belgium.
Morgan Rogers. But from Club Brugge, Christos Zolis.
That's statistics.
£38 million. Mm-hmm. He was at Norwich a few years ago and didn't pull up any trees. I mean, he's gone away and obviously matured as a player. Arsenal are quite excited by this signing, but It's a strange career path, isn't it, to go from Norwich to Belgium and then suddenly join the champions?
That's modern day football. Belgium have got a reputation for rebuilding players' careers. It's happening a lot. You know, we had a bid for a player from Belgium for one of our players on the list at the moment, so he was close going to Belgium. So it's one of those places where you go there and you have a good year, and suddenly you're back in the big time. And fair play to the boy. How much did Arsenal pay for him?
It was about 40 million euros guaranteed. Or was that 36 million?
Did Norwich have sell on in that? Like, would they have got from the Belgium club? They sold him
Would
to?
it filter down potentially?
Oh yeah, if it's in there, it
Yeah.
should filter down. So at least Norwich will make a few quid.
Yeah.
But yeah, interesting.
He looks like the Leandro Trossard replacement.
Yeah, and to be fair, is Trossard now gone? Has he signed out?
17
Turkey? He's
million
done.
quid,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, for what was he, 32? I mean, they had a couple of great years out of Trossard. So I think, you know, what I always say, know when to call it time. And I think they've picked it perfectly there with Trossard. And I'd say there's probably another, 4 or 5 Arsenal want to move on.
And you have to do that, don't you? I mean, I'll go back
absolutely. Freshen things up.
Yeah, I'll go back to the season when United won the double, when Fergie seemed to have a brain freeze and he got rid of Paul Ince, Mark Hughes, Andre Kanchelskis, it's all in one window. Everyone thought he was bonkers.
Blocking people.
Obviously, the kids come in.
Loved it.
I'm not saying Arsenal are going to do that, but it is a skill, isn't it, to be able to regenerate from a position of power.
100%. If you sell well, you got to recruit well then as well. And unfortunately, in the modern day now, transfers are just an everyday occurrence. So, you know, I still have, another 4 signings to make in the next 2 weeks. So every club's going to be the same, top level, lower level.
What about this one? Because we've been talking about too much, too young. Chelsea, in a pre-agreement to sign a 15-year-old
America
from the MLS, promising youth international Benji Flowers from FC Dallas. Love Dallas, by the way. What do you make of that? A pre-agreement for a 15-year-old?
Fantastic. But they got a top academy. Why couldn't they do
2.6 million euros.
Is that what they've paid?
Yeah.
Wow. I don't.
And actually, the fee could go up to as much as $10 million.
Well, he's obviously very talented. And America now they are creating some talented young players. You've seen that in the lower US teams, under 18s and 16s. So I'm not surprised more Premier Leagues don't do the same.
Yeah, there you go. You are up to date with the latest from the transfer window. Stay tuned to talksport.com. I'll be recording a new episode of The Window for our TalkSport YouTube channel this afternoon as well. You won't miss any of the big deals. And as you know by now, we've been talking about it for the last couple of days. The Commonwealth Games have arrived. We got coverage across the TalkSport network. Our athletics correspondent, John Cushing, is watching for us this morning.
Yeah, and the swimming has started this morning, Alex. The heats this morning, finals tonight, and swimming is Scotland's most successful sport in the Commonwealth Games. And Evie Mackey was the first Scottish winner here at the Tollcross International Centre, a heat in the 400 metres free. And then Duncan Scott, the first Scot through to the final. He is defending his 200-metre individual medley tonight. He told me afterwards that TalkSport needs to cover swimming more. I told him he's got live commentary tonight, which he was happy with. He'll be against Tom Dean and Max Litchfield and New Zealand's Lewis Clareburt as well in a really big final this evening. Stephen Clegg fastest into his S13 100-metre free final as well, and Katie Shanahan and Holly McGill in the final of the 200-metre backstroke as well. 21-year-old McGill in only her second games winning her heat over her best friend from Australia, Iona Anderson. Beating the Aussies is always a difficult thing to do, even in a heat. Peter Coetz from South Africa has broken the games record in the 50-metre backstroke as well, 24.45 seconds down this 50-metre pool. Australia have won the first 3x3 basketball match, beating New Zealand 21-15, and England's Lauren Mackey started the Glasgow boxing in the women's bantamweight with a 5-0 points win, and Ellis Trowbridge of Team England has just knocked down his opponent twice, and the referee stopped the fight. He's through to the next round as well. This is Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games, and it's live on TalkSport.
Commonwealth Games update on TalkSport with BYD. Dare to dream with BYD and the Commonwealth Games.
And a reminder, we'll have a special live programme from the Commonwealth Games, 7 o'clock tonight. Natalie Sawyer alongside the former Olympian Greg Rutherford. Coming up next, though, we're going to look ahead to AJ's return to the ring. Frank Smith will be joining us. You're listening to Alex Crook and Darragh MacAnthony in for White and Jordan on TalkSport with Selco Builders Warehouse. It's where the trade go.
Obviously, you've got
Kai Havertz, who was missing for most of last season. He's back and available and can play either as your centre forward or off your centre forward, which again shows a little bit more congestion in that kind of attacking midfield role. So I think when you zoom out, bigger picture, the squad still has enough. It has a lot of depth. But I think the reason there's a bit of nervousness around the Arsenal fan base right now is because we see an opportunity. We win the league for the first time in 22 years. Manchester City have lost Pep Guardiola. He's moved on. Maresca's a great coach, but is he Pep Guardiola? I'm not sure he is. In fact, I'm certain he's not. You look at Liverpool, new coach starting the project again. Chelsea under Alonso, really good coach, but they're going to need time. Man United are not quite there yet. There's an opportunity for Arsenal to not just consolidate, but to take another step and dominate for a period of time. And I think that's why there's a nervousness around this transfer window. Last year, it was about, can we do the business to get us over the line? We've done that. Now it's about, can we do the business
Champions League?
Yeah, to consolidate our position and to dominate. And I think that's why people are quite anxious at the minute.
See, why can't all the Arsenal fans be like Harry?
Measured.
Don't be like Piers Morgan, Joel Bayer, Troops, all these prats that ruin it for the good Arsenal fans. I love speaking to you, Harry. Proper Arsenal fan.
Good on you, Harry.
Thank you very much, mate. But listen, every Arsenal fan's got their view, and we're a passionate bunch.
Even that, you should be a politician with that.
No. Harry, we want to speak to you.
Sport.
With your headlines at 12:01, I'm Nick Ellaby. Good afternoon. Day one in the Germany job, and Jurgen Klopp's come out swinging. He's told the German public and media, "Go after my family and I'll quit." He says that's after seeing how Julian Nagelsmann was treated following 3 disappointing World Cups. German football expert Konstantin Eckner told us Klopp's been brought in to manage Germany's turnaround.
Just like he did at Dortmund and at Liverpool, using younger players, propping up these younger players, and then with those players, with that kind of foundation, then maybe getting back to the title picture in 2030 or 2032.
After a 2-year break from management, Klopp signed a 4-year deal with the German national team. The move's taken talkSPORT's Darragh MacAnthony by surprise.
I thought we'd see him back at a big club. But listen, maybe he's enjoyed his time away and doing his advisor role, and he's got a good family, so good luck to him in the Germany job.
Klopp's first match is away to the Netherlands in the Nations League. All this as it's reported Pep Guardiola turned down the Italy job for family reasons. President of the Italian FA, Paolo Maldini, also says they offered the job to Carlo Ancelotti, who turned it down as well. Now, Newcastle fans, you're being told not to write off the season already, despite what's shaping up to be a sad summer, as captain Bruno Guimaraes explores his options. The Chronicle's Lee Ryan says Newcastle's position on him is clear.
It looks like Newcastle are kind of digging the heels in a bit. And basically the message I got last night from very high up at St James's was, he's not for sale.
French midfielder Aladji Bamba has joined Newcastle from Monaco for $35 million. That's a 5-year contract. And we understand Jeremy Doku, Josko Gvardiol and Abdulkadir Kuzanov have all extended with Man City till 2031. More at talksport.com.
talkSPORT News.
The lawyer for the families of the children murdered by the Southport killer have accused him of manipulating the system. And Andy Burnham's about to give the go-ahead for more North Sea drilling. Emma has more at past.
talkSPORT weather with QuickFit. Sort your new tyres this summer at a time that suits you best from the comfort of your home or work 7 days a week with our mobile tyre fitting service. Conditions apply.
England and Wales dry with plenty of sunshine. Northern Ireland and Scotland cloudier with patchy rain. In the southeast, feeling very warm.
Having kittens behind the glass we're at the studio. Last hour of the programme, Alex Crook and Darragh MacAnthony. It says in for White and Jordan, but actually it's normally me and Sam Matterface and Gabby on the slot on a Friday, so you're in for Gabby.
I'm in for Gabby.
As opposed to Simon.
Right, okay. Gotcha.
More on your intellectual wavelength, you think, you and Gabby?
That's funny. Are you still talking? On to the boxing.
I need that.
Sorry, that's for you. They actually have to write things down for Alex Crooks. That's how dumb he is. Do you know what I mean? I actually come in with nothing.
Touche.
Yeah.
That's because you're in the second chair. Leave this to the big boys.
That's not what your wife said. Anyways.
This Saturday, Anthony Joshua's comeback starts. He faces Christian Prenga. Let's look ahead to the big fight now with DAZN.
Big fight build-up on talkSPORT with DAZN. Anthony Joshua's comeback starts this Saturday as he faces Christian Prenga. Watch only on DAZN Saturday Fight Night.
To be fair, I've been reading out those two lines all week. I probably should have memorised them by now. Frank Smith, CEO of Matchroom Boxing, joins us. Frank, bring some order to proceedings, please. How excited are we now? We're 24 hours away from Joshua's comeback.
I can't wait. He looks in unbelievable shape. You know, we've got the weigh-in later this evening here in Jeddah. Unbelievable weather here as well. What a place to be for a big night and a big return for Anthony Joshua. You know, the main man in the sport of boxing, I believe, and looking forward to seeing him getting a big KO victory on Saturday live on DAZN.
Frank, I'm going to ask you a question about, obviously, what happens after this fight. And I know you don't want to look past the opponent and all of that usual blah, blah, blah. But when's he going to win the titles again? I know the whole Fury thing and the money everyone's going to make, but do you honestly think he could be undisputed again now that Usyk's pretty much getting rid of all the titles and going to fight one more time?
Yeah, look, I believe 100% he's got the ability to do it. He was very close. He's a two-time unified heavyweight champion of the world. He held 3 of those belts. It was always his dream to become undisputed. I believe he gave Alexander Usyk his toughest fight. Obviously, Usyk now part of the camp. You know, all the talk is about Fury next, but the dream continues to be to become an undisputed heavyweight champion of the world. You know, there was times where it was said, is this the last year? But with the way he's motivated right now, I truly believe he can go on for another 2 years and win those championships and become undisputed, and that will always continue to be the dream. Not looking past Tyson Fury that everyone's talking about, but undisputed will always be that target.
In a perfect world, you know, give me Matchroom's blueprint for the next 2 years. Give me the next 5 fights for Anthony Joshua, depending on winning each time. Give me the 5 fights, the perfect fights for us boxing fans.
Knock out Christian Prenga, knock out Tyson Fury, and then whoever's got the belts then, go and win them all. You know, you've seen Alexander Usyk talking about Anthony Joshua becoming undisputed champion. He believes he can do it. We believe he can do it. So whoever's got those belts at the end of this year or early part of next year, go after those, and by the end of 2027, be an undisputed heavyweight champion of the world.
Now let's go the other way. Let's say things don't go to plan. Next fight are Fury. And we know AJ how good he can be on his day, and he looks hungry. I've seen all the build-up. He looks in great shape mentally and physically. But let's say for whatever reason there's an upset. Is he still going to continue fighting, in your opinion?
I mean, look, he's come back from tough times before. He's come back from losses. I think this is the pivotal part of his career. I think a loss, you know, he's never going to talk about a loss. We're fully focused on him getting the win. But he has to keep winning at this point of his career, I believe. You know, Christian Prenga first and foremost on Saturday night. And I truly believe he beats Tyson Fury at the end of this year when that fight happens. No one's looking beyond that right now. That's the focus. But yeah, at this stage of his career, at this sort of time he's in, I think a loss would be then hard to come back from. But he's done it before. Other fighters have done it before. He's a huge commercial draw. There's huge fights out there for him, but fully committed and focused on getting those wins.
Is Tyson Fury going to appear ringside at some point? Because Spencer Oliver suggested that he might jet over to Saudi after his fight tonight, but I think there's some quotes from Fury saying, quotes, he's got no interest in coming to watch AJ fight Pringles.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people haven't got interest in seeing Tyson Fury fight Marius Wack. But, you know, each to their own. I think, is Tyson Fury going to be here? It's Tyson Fury, isn't it? He's the master of changing his mind. He's retired 7 times and come back out of retirement 8 times. So, you know, this is what the man does. Does Tyson Fury turn up? He's 50-50. You know, happy to help book a flight if he wants to come over here and see the true heavyweight king.
Have you got anyone scouting the fight? Because obviously none of us can watch it. So it's like in the back of a gym somewhere, isn't it?
I've got, yeah.
Have you got some spies?
I've got a few people in there. We're going to...
You have?
Yeah, we've got Instagram Live on it as well. We'll be sharing the feed. Don't you worry, we'll find a feed somewhere. You'll be able to watch it. No, I don't know too much about it. I know it's Friday night in Thailand. I wish him the best of luck. Not sure. I think it's going out on his Netflix show, isn't it?
Yeah.
At Home with the Furies.
It is going out
I think
live
it's an
tonight,
exclusive for At Home with the Furies.
That's the plan, yeah.
Speaking of Netflix.
I'm not sure if it's live.
Okay. Well, speaking of Netflix, important question. Because obviously, the one thing Tyson's had is he's had a renewal on his show. I quite enjoyed the Matchroom show. Has Eddie been cancelled or have they renewed it?
We're working through it at the minute.
Oh,
We're working through it. It was a great success, the first show. Not cancelled. No, not cancelled. Not cancelled. No, it went very well. But if you've got any bidders for it, if talkSPORT on the exclusive rights, I'm sure we can sort it out.
Well, if my wife was in charge of the budget, she'd go for it. She enjoyed that, actually.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
I can't say I saw it, unfortunately, but she certainly did.
Even Frank's cameos were okay. It was good.
What did you make, by the way,
Thanks very much.
of AJ
Yeah.
sending a special custom-made talkSPORT belt to our own Jim White yesterday? Did you see that?
No, I just got told about it now. I saw he was saying he was going to send a gift. I actually thought he was going to send a belt for Simon, saying, can you say... No, I'm not going to say what I was going to say, but I'll tell you off camera. I thought he was going to send something else to Simon. It was actually very friendly. It was the king of like the heavyweight of broadcast, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yeah,
yeah, it was lovely.
Yeah, I thought it was going to go to Simon and be a bit of a wind-up.
Well, there's still time. Simon's still sunning himself, so maybe when he comes back. Talk to me about Conor Benn, Frank, if you can. He fights Garcia in September. What did you make of the press conference, and how much of a challenge do you think it's going to be for Conor?
Yeah, look, I think it's the hardest fight of Conor's career to date. Our relationship isn't the same as what it was. I wish him the best of luck. I think Ryan Garcia, like I say, is levels above where he's been in it. But one thing about Conor Benn, he gives everything to his training camp. He's going to go in there and give it his all. You know, the build-up's going to be a lot of fun. You saw him speaking Spanish. I always said that would be an exciting build-up between the two of them. And it's what he's always wanted. It's going to be interesting to see him at 147. You know, his fight against Regis Prograis. Even people say maybe because of my view now, I'm against him, but I don't think he looked great in there at 149. I think that fight was, or 150. But I think it'll be interesting to see him at 147, and wish him the best of luck.
And I've got to ask you as well. You've lost a few fighters now to Zuffa. Is that a concern for you at all?
Look, I always say you've got to stay calm in this business. Every few years, something mad happens in this business. Someone new comes in. There's hundreds of millions invested into the sport, and you have to stay calm. You know, we will continue to invest in the fighters that we believe for the long term will deliver a return and we can do a great job for. We're excited about the stable we've got. We just announced a whole host of new shows through to October on our exclusive partner, DAZN. So, yeah, look, we will always make a decision based on logic. And not emotion. There's too much emotion in this sport. If you make emotional decisions, you make the wrong decisions. So we wish him the best. Johnny Fisher, obviously, you know, one you mentioned there. Wish him all the best. We've had a great journey with him. But yeah, again, it's not the first time, and it won't be the last someone new comes into sport. It's not the first time a fighter's left the promoter and joined someone else, and it will continue to happen all across the board, from our side, from other promoters. You know, from Zuffa, fighters will leave. So yeah, I don't worry too much.
Yeah, everyone's in it for money. That's the bottom line. So it happens in football.
Exactly.
No different in boxing. I guess the next question I've got for you, Frank, is about Vegas versus Saudi. I'm a massive boxing fan, and I've been to the biggest fights, you know, a lot of them in Vegas. You know, massive Canelo fan. Pretty much every fight I've been to of his. And obviously the one thing me and my missus, we used to love going to Vegas, you know, a bit of gambling, a few drinks, watch the fights. And we spend a lot of time in Dubai, been to Saudi once. I'm just like, I'm not loving the atmosphere. I'm missing the big fights in Vegas. Is this the future of boxing now, where it's just always going to be out in Saudi and the Saudi money, in your opinion? Because you've been around boxing for a long time. Is this the direction of travel permanently now for a good while?
Well, I think it's about making great fights happen, and wherever they take place. There's been what Saudi Arabia, what His Excellency's done for boxing has been sensational. He's brought people together that you never would have thought, and he's made fights happen that we maybe never would have seen otherwise. You see with the Tyson Fury Anthony Joshua talk, people saying, you know, obviously we've signed a contract for the UK, but there's talk about could it be in the US as well. Cool. So it's not just focused on Saudi, but great fights are happening here. You know, Jeddah on Saturday night is going to be packed out in there. you see the reaction to Anthony Joshua here. He's had, I think, 5 fights out here now in Saudi, and built
a different type of audience, though, Frank, isn't it, in terms of the atmosphere?
You can't have a bevy. You can't, and that's my thing about it. You go for a weekend for the boxing, and with this, you look at it and it just looks flat.
And surely, we've got a World Cup coming to Saudi Arabia. Yeah. I was in Qatar. They did relax the rules around alcohol. Surely, for a World Cup, they're going to have to do the same, aren't they?
I don't know. You have to obviously be respectful of cultures, of course, as well. I saw what they did in Qatar. People say it was one of the best World Cups in Qatar. I didn't go myself. So I can't say.
I did, and you could get a drink. Don't worry about that.
It's going to be interesting. No, but look, I think times evolve. I can't speak on the World Cup. I'm not involved in football. I'd like to be. There's a lot of dough in it. But it's going to be a brilliant World Cup, which is coming off the back of a great World Cup in the US. I think what Saudi Arabia are doing for not just boxing but sport as a whole is amazing, and it's great to see investment in sport, in what we all love and what we work in.
And Frank, I know you were out in the US following the World Cup. What did you make of it? I thought it was a brilliant few weeks.
Yeah, it was amazing. I went to the Atlanta game. I know it didn't. The game against Argentina, the semi-final. I know it didn't go our way, but a spectacular event to be at. A spectacular atmosphere up until the 84th minute for the English fans. But yeah, it was a great World Cup. I actually was supposed to go to the final, but my flights got cancelled, so I missed that. So I missed the halftime show of Madonna, unfortunately.
and just one last one before you go. Obviously, Hamza Shiraz and Josh Kelly both featuring on tomorrow's bill. What is their roadmap looking like as we get to the middle and end of 2026?
Yeah, look, Hamza obviously not promoted by us, but by Queensbury. He's got some big fights ahead of him. Won his title in Egypt in May. He's got exciting time, big fights to be made. Canelo Alvarez fights and Billy for the world title later this year. That's a big fight, unification between the two of those, if that can happen. And Josh Kelly, a fighter that we've worked with for many years now. Delighted to see him become a world champion, achieve his dream, come back through hard times. That's a great fight against Kevin Agyarko. Agyarko's worked hard for this opportunity. A great fight, and it sets up a massive opportunity in the 154 division against the likes of Jerome Boots Ennis for a unification. So it's exciting times in boxing, big fights being made.
If Zuffa really wanted to wind up Eddie Hearn, what they should do is write you a cheque for 50 million and take you from him.
Yeah, but I'm different though. I've worked for Eddie.
Don't start. You take the money.
Since I was 14.
Doesn't matter. You take the money.
I wouldn't.
Some people have principles.
Morals are worth more than money. I promise you.
Like you're stood in Saudi Arabia right now.
Some of us.
To us. Stop. Stop.
Frank, cheers for joining us. Enjoy the weekend. A reminder, stay tuned to the talkSPORT Boxing YouTube channel for all the best build-up. That was a look ahead to AJ versus Prenger with DAZN. Join DAZN Ultimate for 185+ fight nights, 12+ pay-per-views every year, including Joshua against Prenger, all included, no extra cost. Buy now at dazn.com.
Big fight build-up on talkSPORT with DAZN. This Saturday, it's danger before destiny for Anthony Joshua. Joshua versus Prenger, live exclusively on DAZN.
Drop.
They've got to get that alcohol licence for the World Cup in Saudi Arabia.
Oh, and that's what I mean. It's just that, listen, I am a UAE fan. I've no issue with Saudi. I want to gamble and drink when I go watch a fight. I want to make it a weekend
Nothing
event.
wrong with that.
I'd fly in a day and fly out on a day if it was in Saudi to fight, Just not for me.
Agreed. Coming up next, the story we didn't get to yesterday, actually, 10 years on from the ultimate underdog story, winning the Premier League, Leicester City seemingly up for sale. We'll get Darrah's views on that. You are listening to Alex Crook and Darragh MacAnthony in for White and Jordan on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. It's where the trade go.
I think United want to move on. He's obviously on a hefty wage. I'm amazed Saudi haven't come in. I'm amazed he hasn't gone out to Saudi.
I think he won it.
Again, Saudi pay a lot more than 300 grand a week for a player obviously who's playing for England and still in his prime. Yeah. I'm very surprised Barcelona didn't do the deal. But then again, I expected him to do well at Barcelona. Most, average wingers would do well out there, the team they have. I don't know where he goes. If you were a Spurs, would you go for him?
That's the one that keeps nagging away in the back of my mind.
We'll take him for a loan.
Yeah.
And if he plays 23 games, you know what I mean, we'll obviously pay this fee and that fee. What United are going to have to probably end up doing is recuperating as much of that fee back and all the loan fees they've had the last 2 seasons and the next 2 seasons. So I'm thinking Spurs. They've got a few more experienced Premier League players they've signed.
And De Zerbi's the type of manager that feels he can.
I'm not sure he
can fix players.
I'm not sure he'd put up with
really.
And then you'd worry about the London life, wouldn't you? So
yes, you would.
There's all those things. Rashford is incredibly talented, and you look at him and go, "What are you doing with your career? You should be dominating. You should be dominating world
Even
football."
That World Cup, he comes on, doesn't he? The first game, scores a brilliant goal against Croatia, arguably England's best performance in that second half. He played a part of that. Starts the next game, sinks the place out, and then never really gets.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
You're listening to Alex Crook and Darragh MacAnthony on this Friday afternoon live on talkSPORT. I want to talk Leicester City now. Of course, we'll be beginning the new season in League One after suffering back-to-back relegations. They have a new manager in Russell Martin, someone that Darragh knows well, someone that I wish all the best as well. But there have been stories this week, and we have got this stood up by our contacts at talkSPORT, that their owners, King Power, could be looking to sell the club. Obviously, the ownership group have come under fire in the wake of those back-to-back relegations. It's only 10 years since they defied odds of 5,000 to 1 to win the Premier League title. They've been FA Cup winners since then as well, European quarter-finalists. 2 questions, Darragh. Where's it all gone so badly wrong for King Power, and is now the right time to get out?
I feel sorry for the son who owns it. And obviously, personal tragedy and everything else is probably hasn't helped over the years. His dad was a big guiding light and everything. I'm sure he probably wants to sell because he's probably got hammered because they've had back-to-back relegations. But everyone in football's got a short memory. What Leicester have done over the last 10 years is incredible. And I ask anyone to go visit the Leicester training ground, which is the best training ground I've seen in Europe. I mean, unbelievable. I think they spent like 100 million on it. So let me say this right now. Anyone looking to buy a football club, and I don't care what the price of Leicester is, that's one of the best clubs out there to buy. I would also say to the guy who currently owns it, who's looking to sell, that, what he's done for Leicester has been incredible, regardless of being back in League One. That's football.
Does he deserve the stick that he gets from the Leicester fans?
Every owner deserves stick when you fail, and every owner fails, by the way. That's just par for the course. Doesn't matter if you're at Man United or Peterborough United, you're going to fail during a period of ownership. I've been at Peterborough 20 years. We've won promotions, cups, we've had relegations, we've succeeded, we've failed. That's the beauty of our game. You're not guaranteed to win. I know a lot of Americans think you're guaranteed to win when you buy a football club at times. It doesn't work that way. So he's going to deserve stick, because any club that gets relegated, the owner has to front it. He's a very likeable guy. The family have done incredible things for Leicester. I would say to the fans, go easy on him. If he's obviously at the games early on in League One, I'm sure he's going to find a good owner, and there will be a queue at the door to buy that club. And Russell is in a great job. Great job.
Because even his appointment, I spoke to Leicester fans who were absolutely raging against that appointment.
What?
I don't get it, because you look at his record in the Football League. He took Southampton into the Premier League. Obviously, the big criticism was that he wouldn't divert from his playing style.
Sure.
I don't think the Southampton squad was good enough, whatever playing style he adopted. They were always going to get relegated. Rangers didn't work out for him, and I think he probably would acknowledge mistakes there. But to get Russell Martin in League One, I think it's a real coup for Leicester.
I think both ways, and for Russell to get Leicester at that stage as well, because Leicester's a massive football club, by the way. And look, I love Russell Martin. I think he's a terrific manager. He was, I signed him as a 20-odd-year-old from Wickham. He was, captain at our club.
He backs himself, doesn't he?
He's very confident. But you have to be. To be a good manager and a top manager, you have to be. He's going to have to learn to evolve as he gets older. because I understand the whole I'm playing one way and that way only. So you don't only get like tarred with that brush forever.
And actually, you can do it if they make the right recruitment and they've sold more players and they've signed.
Yeah.
Leicester should be one of the powerhouses in that division. He can play the football he wants.
Leicester should win the league. So a club that size, and like I said, 20 years ago, we rivaled them to win the league. So it's really funny, it's like it's gone around in full circle. But this is football at times. I know Leicester fans, they'll enjoy winning this year. They've had a couple of bad years, but no one's ever going to forget what happened 10 years ago. I was watching the Vardy documentary and I almost wish it was a Leicester documentary. Do you know what I mean? Because of what went on behind the scenes and how that all happened.
Yeah, and actually, if you ask Leicester fans, and I've got first-hand experience of this with Portsmouth supporters because they were FA Cup winners in 2008, and I remember I was at Wembley with a pal of mine, big Pompey fan, and he said to me, even if we go bust now, you can never take this away.
Same with Wigan
fans.
fans.
And of course, they very nearly did go bust, Portsmouth, but I don't think they would swap their journey. I don't think Leicester fans would either, as much as they're angry at their current predicament.
Look, here's the thing. All a football fan wants a couple of things. One, he wants his club to be there on a Saturday and a Tuesday. All right, for him to be able to take his family, enjoy it, or meet his mates. Yes, secondly, he wants them to win. But most importantly, he wants his club there. Leicester, since they were last in League One, just look at what they've done. Look at their facilities. Look at their training ground. My goodness, that is a massive football club at our level. I thought Birmingham were big and some of the previous clubs, but Leicester are one of the biggest, being in League One for a long time. And they're going to have a good season regardless. Russell Martin's a terrific manager. I'm sure he'll be very successful at Leicester. It's primed. If he wants to sell it, now is the time to do it. And you know what? He's probably got to the stage where he's got criticism fatigue. A lot of owners can get that, where you're just constantly getting criticised. You get mental fatigue from it. And you're like, you know what? Let someone else do this better than me. Maybe it's time to step off. I've gone stale. I've gone whatever. It can happen to everyone.
Has Russell got the right people above him? Because, again, a big bone of contention among Leicester City fans is the former director of football, John Roadkin.
Sure. John's been there a long time.
And he's made a lot of the decisions that have led to their downfall in recent
Was he there when they won the title?
To Leicester fans, I'm talking about recent history. He's been the fall guy.
Sure.
Actually, he's just been promoted to a more senior position, which a lot of Leicester fans can't understand.
Yeah, but I think ownership trusts him. John's been around a long time.
Is he a good operator?
Was he? I think he is. He's a very difficult operator to deal with. I've always found that whenever we've tried to do deals with him. So I haven't spent a lot of time with him personally. Barry's done a lot of deals with him. Was he there during the success? So it doesn't make you bad overnight. From winning league titles to some relegations. I could pick out 20 recruitment maestros right now. Everyone is so far up their backside about it and tell you they're absolutely crap. And I know for a fact they're crap. And they're nicking a living. And there's lots of them in football. So I'm not sure he's one of them. But I can understand why the fans dislike him. Now, if I were him personally, I'd have already probably moved on.
Yeah,
because
the
of
chief
that.
executive left, didn't she, Susan Whelan?
But he's very close to the owner, so maybe he's doing him a favour and doing the right thing. So who knows? We don't know what goes on behind the scenes. The media likes to create a lot of drama about people and roles and positions. They do. And, look, I've been in football 20 years, Alex. I don't know if our young intern in there was doing AI stuff on data I was asking about earlier. I should do it. I don't know how. Am I top 5 for owners for over 20 years? One of the last 5 left.
Definitely in your own head, you would.
No, I'm not saying top 5 quality-wise. I'm saying time-wise, Alex.
Okay.
That's your ego. So what I'm saying to you is, when you've been in football a long time, you can get fatigue on lots of levels. Sometimes it's time to move on.
And on the flip side, we all know that football is fickle. If they start the season well, Leicester, as they probably should in League One.
Of course they should.
Then all of a sudden, Russell Martin will be the new saviour. The dissenting voices against the owners will get quieter. They probably won't go away altogether, but
sure.
Ultimately, all that matters is what you do on the pitch.
Winning solves all sins, and that's just a fact of football. Winning solves all sins, and forgiveness is there as long as you win. So if Russell starts winning, and I expect him to start winning, and they should win the title, really. Look, the owner doesn't need to be in a hurry. I don't know if he's a skint member or if he's got financial issues. I doubt it. I know, they're...
Well, I had some issues on the back of COVID.
Yeah, but I think they're a very wealthy family. So I'm sure Leicester are fine from that regard. So really, if I were him, if you can stick it out one more year, you can add another title to the trophy cabinet and then sell them as a championship club. But Leicester have got to be worth hundreds of millions for anyone buying that club.
Wow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nev has got in touch on WhatsApp, says Darragh MacAnthony. He's a breath of fresh air on talkSPORT. Jim says, keep Darragh on a permanent basis. Great pundit. I don't have to have a dictionary with me as I do when listening to Simon. Mark says, brilliant show, guys. Keep me entertained on the road. Absolutely love Darragh. Can we have him a bit more regularly on the show? Any more transfers pending for the mighty Ipswich? Definitely going to make a better fight of it this year with the activity already. Well, that wouldn't be particularly difficult than last time they were in the Premier League. This is talkSPORT.
let's just say something about Tottenham here. It's a big conversation because obviously it's about trophy wins, European Cups, all of those sort of things come into it. But in the modern world, it also comes down to support base. Money is so much involved, and Spurs are a big club, full stop. Of course, we're above someone like West Ham. We have got more support.
He had you above West Ham
globally. Well, I know, but he was almost fighting with that. You could also look at a support point of view globally. We would make Chelsea look tiny. They have had more recent success. Facts, they've had more success. But we also got to think about Tottenham history. First team to do a domestic double. First team to win the European Cup. We have history that can't be ignored in the same way like Aston Villa.
Without being pedantic, people will be shouting at the radio, European Cup, not the European Cup.
A European Cup, yes, apologies.
That's all right.
And so I think that history is important. It really, really is. And I don't want to sound like I'm banging on about the past. We know what we've been. I'm a realistic Tottenham fan. I've seen it. Arsenal are a big club. Hate saying it, they're a big club. Bigger than us. I've got to say that as well, and that's going to upset people.
Rich, you do me a favour then. You rate them 1 to 4 first.
It'll have to be Arsenal.
Okay.
Gives me the up, but there you go.
Then who?
And you're not. It's controversial. I'm going to put us above Chelsea.
talkSPORT News.
Good afternoon, it's Emma Kerwin with your headlines. The Southport killer's been accused of manipulating the system over being transferred to a psychiatric hospital. That from the families of the children murdered by Axel Rudakabana. The government insists the move is not a reduction or softening of his 52-year sentence. Next to Ireland, where we're hearing police say they've intercepted a significant car bomb. It was found in County Monaghan near the Irish border as part of an operation targeting dissident Republicans. Andy Burnham's eager to get drilling in the North Sea for more oil and gas. According to The Times, he'll make his mind up within weeks whether to go ahead. The aim is to ease the cost of living this winter. Political correspondent John Boothman says there's been a long wait for a decision on this.
In particular, it's of concern to people in the northeast of Scotland because thousands of jobs are at stake.
Meanwhile, Number 10 is opening its doors for business today in the north. Andy Burnham's holding his first meeting in Manchester to discuss devolution and local economic growth. It's part of his plan to take decision-making away from central government. And temperatures are set to reach 30 degrees again today across central and southern England. Yellow heat health alerts are in place, but there is some rain expected over the weekend. Not enough to help drought-hit areas, though.
talkSPORT Sports Headlines with Bostik. For professional grade sealants with easy application and a perfect finish, pros trust Bostik.
Jurgen Klopp threatens to quit on day one in the Germany job, and we're told Joe Root will become interim captain of England's test side. Nick has more at 1.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
Alex Crook and Darragh MacAnthony here on talkSPORT on this sunny Friday morning in London. Going to talk about the cost of policing now in football following the latest statistics released yesterday by the Home Office that show incidents reported at 1,644 matches last season in England and Wales, the highest figure since the UK Football Policing Unit started collecting the data back in 2017. The most common football-related arrest offences included public disorder, 38%, followed by violent disorder, 19%, and 17% the possession of Class A drugs, which I think has become a real problem inside football stadiums. Football clubs have been urged to contribute more to the cost of matchday policing to ease the burden on taxpayers. Let's hear from Chief Constable Mark Roberts speaking to the show last year, who said that policing shouldn't have to provide an additional service that public pays for. Other events pay, like music festivals. So why shouldn't football, was his view?
That people who
earn more money, should get a better policing service. Absolutely, I recognise the figures that Simon quotes there about what football generates. Well, that's paying taxes. Everyone pays taxes. They pay taxes for a level of service for lots of things, the health service, the military, the police. I'd flip it round a bit and say lots of people are now this year going to get an increase in their council tax, part of which is the precept to pay for policing. That's to maintain levels of policing in communities. So why should someone in a lot less affluent position than a football club have an increase to their council tax to subsidise football, which is a really profitable industry? I think if football's getting an enhanced service beyond what the public would normally expect, then it should pay for it. You know, football clubs have surgeons on hand at the grounds just in case there's an injury, and quite understandable, but they pay for that. You wouldn't expect the health service to provide that. So why should policing provide such an additional service to football at the expense of the public?
That's Chief Constable Mark Roberts there, the UK's head of football policing. Who's that aimed at, Darragh? Is it aimed at all professional clubs, or is he talking more about Premier League clubs whose pockets are obviously deeper than yours?
I hope it's Premier League clubs, because us in the lower leagues, this government's already whacked us the last few years since they've come.
In what way?
National insurance rises, minimum wage, all of that. We already lose millions. We're now losing an extra few 100,000, and none of that's good or pro business. And we didn't think that was going to happen. So we already pay, us as a club, pay nearly 600 grand a year for security, safety, and some police costs for some of the bigger games. So now they want us to pay more. No, I'm sorry, but I agree with Simon, who obviously originally talked about the footprint financially. Our club brings millions into our city. Our rates in our stadium have gone up 2.5 times since COVID. None of our income goes up. The actual expenses have gone through the roof. Energy bills. We used to pay $250 a year for our electricity at the stadium. $340 went up in a year.
Yeah.
So it's just constant.
But that's not unique to football, is it? We're all feeling the pinch.
What I'm trying to say is, the last few years, and I did warn this during COVID, this would happen. The massive inflation that would come afterwards. But so with all due respect to the old Bill wanting more, it's a no from me. It's just a no. It's a flat no.
What would you say though in response to Mark Roberts' suggestion there that festivals like Glastonbury, the big horse racing events, Cheltenham, for example, have to cover or contribute heavily to their policing
one-off
footprint?
events that happen every year. We're part of the community that provides to the community, works in the community. We have foundations to do all that work. We bring a lot more than festivals do for 3 days a year. Damn right they should pay for police costs. They should pay for ours as well. At the end of the day, we bring millions into the city. We help towards all the public services, including the police budgets, I'd imagine. So, no, I look, I'm happy if he wants to go after the Premier League or the European nights of football, I get it. Wouldn't it just be nice where you don't need any policing and they don't need to do that much work on a Saturday because everyone behaves themselves?
Well, what do you make of that number of incidents reported at more than 1,500 matches last season in England and Wales? That's a lot.
How many matches in total were there?
I have to get AI onto that.
You should know your data on that. So we say it's a lot, but if you maybe work out the matches and the percentage, is it a lot? So I don't know. Look, at the end of the day, you want a safe society. You want a safe, go to a football game without any drama. But I certainly don't want to be paying 8 to 12 grand for every game for extra police costs because they think, well, that game's going to be a little bit more. I understand his perspective. And by the way, our local police are phenomenal. What they call the posh police. They go to away games. They're at home games. They're a great group of guys. And, and they're always very good to us about, we're not going to force this on you for this game or whatever.
Do they ever make demands or not really?
Only for the bigger, the derby games, those type of things.
Like when you play Cambridge?
Yeah, those kind of things. Northampton, Cambridge, the bigger games. So they're
what
very
sort of demands they make then?
Well, not demands. They always say there has to be a bigger police presence, and then for that you're going to have to pay, and there is a cost, and we'll have.
And how much does that cost you? How much does a derby game against Cambridge cost?
I can't remember. Roughly? It's thousands of pounds extra.
Yeah.
But if we were to start paying for policing for every single game for the few police that are just outside the stadium keeping an eye on things, we'd practically make zero from games anyway, home games. Now we'd be in a deficit. It's just not financially
He will get the support, though, Mark Roberts, of non-football fans.
Of course.
When he says that their tax bill is going to go up because they're having to pay for police at matches.
Look, everyone with virtue signals, I'm not saying he is, gets support for all of these topics. Lineker the other day with the whole let's tax more millionaires and blah, blah, blah. Everyone's out. Everyone who's basically out in arms, who's not earning the money or who wants everyone else to pay for it, they're always going to be in support of that. So I hear what he says, but I would say this as well. Maybe we've got to look at where the police are allocated, the money being spent, chasing other things, and maybe, maybe we're overspending in areas we shouldn't be.
Is it virtue signalling when you take into account taxpayers are left footing a £70 million bill each season?
For who are we talking about?
Well, that's the figure that he puts on what it costs to police football.
He's coming out with that figure, and I'd like another study done to say how much does actually football bring to a community and income, how much to bring to a government. So let's do an equation, and we can ask our intern maybe to look at it next week. He's saying 70 million. Now let's talk about the income every football club in England generates for public services. I'd like to see that figure, because it's very easy to throw out a figure to basically infuriate all the taxpayers that, oh my God, 70 million's going towards it. Let's be honest, the UK are spending a lot more than 70 billion and other nonsense that doesn't need to be spent on.
You're on the EFL.
Get angry about that.
You mentioned it. You've got obviously a relationship with the FA as well. How much say do you get when these conversations come up?
Well, I would say that we would have a big say, because nobody in the EFL wants that. But we also want to be fair and listen, because you don't want to just close your ears and go, I'm not listening to that. I think there's a debate to be had, there's an argument to be had, and say, look, we understand where you're coming from. Here's our point back. You're asking an industry where 90% of its businesses lose money every year to pay more. At what stage do you look at it and go, well, we're going to put football clubs out of business because we keep asking for more and more and more, and we can't do it?
No.
Now, they want to do it to the Premier League clubs who are spending 100, 200 million pounds on players. Have at it. That's just my...
How are they going to react, though? The Premier League clubs? They're going to put up the same barriers, aren't they?
They're not going to like it, you know what I mean? But I would like a fair argument with some data and some proper graphs to say that I don't think we're costing the taxpayers 70 million. I think we're bringing a lot more to the taxpayers. And I would say that's how you allocate your budget and your funds, and maybe you need to look at that more.
And just looking at this latest report, the statistics show an increase in what they call high security incidents of football matches, up from 106 the previous season to 159, which again, in isolation, when you look how many matches there are, is not high. But the fact it has increased, is that a concern for you? Or again, is that a reflection of where society is at the moment?
I think it's a reflection of society. I think there's a lot more cameras now in view. I think there's a lot more eyes on things happening. I think stewards are a lot better trained than they were 10 years ago. So those maybe numbers were always going to go up. Maybe here's an idea. Maybe the new Prime Minister, and he sounds like, I heard earlier, he's going to start drilling for oil and gas and stuff, which is going to be great news and lower the cost of energy. Maybe he looks at, if we're going to bring drinking and alcohol back to football, and police need money and whatever else, do we put an extra 20p on every pint that's sold out? So football clubs make more money, and maybe there's an allocation there that goes towards police costs. There's always a way to do a deal.
I mentioned it there, the 17% of those arrests were to do with Class A substances. Is that a concern for you? Is that something that is prevalent?
Yeah, there's obviously lots of younger fans are on the gear. Do you know what I mean? And whatever, and you're seeing that, and you're seeing the arrests, and you're seeing people, what's left in toilets. You're seeing, obviously, evidence of that. Yeah, that's a general bigger problem than football. That's a society issue. There's so many young people.
Would allowing alcohol inside grounds maybe bring those numbers down?
So, say for every 10 people, one person's taking a line or two every Saturday, and 8 or 9 people are behaving themselves. The 8 or 9 people should be punished to not have a drink because one moron is doing it. So that's not the answer.
Well, that brings us back to the debate we had yesterday. And I've got to say, I was surprised slightly that more people were against allowing drinking inside stadiums. Certainly the callers and the texts we had them were in favour of it. Did that surprise you?
No, that didn't shock me at all. I think there's a generation now who aren't big drinkers. There's a generation now that want to go to concerts, games and stuff, and want to be quiet and don't want to be bothered and don't want a lot of hassle, and they certainly don't want drinks spilling on them. So that would freak them out that people would drink. Then there's still an older generation who want to have a drink at games and want to enjoy the social aspect. And you've seen the World Cup, you've seen rugby, you've seen some of the women's league are going to get it as well. Look, we can't be stuck in the past. For 40 odd years, we haven't been able to have a drink at a game. And you see people like throwing comments in there going, oh, Darragh, what about your council? You must owe them millions. I go, well, yeah, but every football club, you got to remember about the council. A football club brings in, we paid 100 grand for a study once that did a study and said, if Peterborough United had a new stadium, all purpose, open all year round, it would be worth 17 to 19 million a year to the city. So it's easy to tar us with, did the council do you
can times that by 92 clubs.
Well, if you go up to the Premier League, by the way, that's going to be a bigger figure.
Yeah.
So, at the end of the day, I think we play a big part in the community. All football clubs do. And we all have foundations, and those foundations are unsung heroes. It's the work they do with children, with people with disabilities, helping people who are depressed, mentally ill. That's forgotten when these numbers of 70 million are thrown out there. So you keep going down that route, more and more clubs will shut off various things, which will actually hurt the community even more.
We are hurtling towards 1 o'clock on this Friday afternoon. One more part of the programme to come. We're going to be asking, in the wake of comments by the new Liverpool manager, Andoni Iraola, is the power of the collective stronger than that of a modern-day manager? You are listening to Alex Crook and Darragh MacAnthony in for White and Jordan on talkSPORT with Selco Builders Warehouse. Check out this month's real deals at selcobw.com.
if Arsenal,
and Chelsea can't win a league.
If Arsenal don't win it, I think Chelsea, with Xabi Alonso, Chelsea need to be one of the teams dreaming. One of the teams, look, a front line of Pedro, Esteval, Palmer, Rodgers is capable of scoring enough goals to win the league. If we now bring in Lacroix, bring in John Stones, sign a new goalkeeper, all of a sudden you're looking at a team with one game to play a week. You're looking at a team that could potentially win a league title.
Mate, you're talking guff.
No, that's not. That's
you're not
very rational chap.
Rory, you're not winning the league.
We are unlikely to win it, but we are one of the 5 teams that can legitimately be considered capable of winning it.
No, you're not.
We are 100%.
No, you're not.
No, you're just a biased Tottenham fan.
No, you are not in the conversation to win the league.
We are.
You are. Let's get Champions League. That's your aim.
That's the primary aim because Arsenal are going to win the league. What I'm saying is, if Arsenal don't win the league,
right? You've got Liverpool, Man City.
So just forget Arsenal. Arsenal, it all goes wrong. They shoot themselves in the foot. It goes as wrong as it went for Liverpool. Look, that won't happen. I think Arsenal will win the league. Let's just.
Anthony Joshua is on the road to destiny. But first, there is danger. Prenga, 20 wins, 20 knockouts. And AJ knows, one moment, one mistake, one punch will change history. AJ is back. But there is danger before destiny.
Show. What about you? Was he just suggesting to the producer questions for the chairman?
No, because you were moaning about nothing to talk about.
I never.
You were saying you did. You said it was a slow news day. I'm going to tell all the fans what goes on here at radio. So every day you get like a talking point list. Sometimes it's
called a running order.
Yeah, running order. Sometimes it's a snooze fest. Sometimes it's interesting. The last couple of days, it's been tough out there for good stories. So all I said when you were moaning about filling airtime was, why don't you ask EFL fans, not just Premier League fans, to throw in some Q&As? And the chairman over here will happily answer some of the questions. Your ego took that as, oh, it's the Darragh show. I was just trying to help.
Neil at Plymouth has texted in, so Peterborough are part of the community, but then Darragh moans about no minimum wage and no going up. Heavens forbid non-playing staff earn a living.
Oh, my God, I'm sure Peter's in his grandmother's basement on his internet and he's enjoying himself while he could be out there.
That was from Neil. That was from Neil.
Oh, from Neil, whoever it was from, yeah. Heard it all before, Crimea River. My football club generates millions for the community, employs hundreds of people, and every time you have these ridiculous rules that come in place, guess what happens? Most clubs let people go. In fact, I think a club near you put something out about having to make redundancies because of all the changes. We didn't make any redundancies, by the way. I kept people on and covered the extra 300 grand a year it's costing because of the new things that came in. So do me a favour.
There you go, Neil. Not all heroes wear capes. Now, as you know, the Commonwealth Games has arrived. We've got coverage across the talkSPORT network. Let's cross back to John Cushing for the latest on what's happening this morning.
Yeah, Adam Ramsey, PT, is safely into the semi-finals of the 100 metres breaststroke here at the Tollcross International Swimming Centre. Alex, the double defending champion in that for Team England. He won the in the latest time, the fastest time of 59.46, so those semis this evening. But it came after a 15-minute delay on the pool side, where to sit in a seat waiting after the lane marker broke in the previous heat. And I caught up with Adam afterwards.
Don't think so. I mean, it's not ideal. It's like going to get your car home with tea and then waiting another 5 hours, I guess. But for me, you know, I've got a job done there. See what we do in the semi-final. Obviously debrief, see what we need to do on the processes and take it from there.
Yeah, semi-finals tonight. Sam Williamson of Australia, second quickest. Jersey's Philippe Kovaci was third quickest. Into the final tonight as well here at Tollcross. Scotland's Duncan Scott in the 200 metres individual medley. Katie Shanahan and Holly McGrill in the 200 metre backstroke. Stephen Clegg in the 100 metres S13 free. And wins in boxing for England's Lauren Mackey and Ellis Trowbridge in the bantamweight this morning. Defeat in knockout, though, for Lewis Rooney of Northern Ireland. And just before I go, Rhys McLennan is in the pommel horse qualification action at the moment in the gymnastics arena. Right now, he is, of course, the Olympic champion for Ireland. This is the Glasgow 2026 Commonwealth Games. It's live on talkSPORT.
Commonwealth Games update on talkSPORT with the BYD Dolphin Surf City Smart Ocean Cool 100% electric fun.
And a reminder, Natalie Sawyer will be alongside Greg Rutherford, former Olympian, 7 o'clock tonight for a special Commonwealth Games show. And actually, if you go out in the corridor there, we've got some markers down of where Greg did his long jump. We've been trying to emulate it.
No one wants to see you try and do a long jump. It'll be like Mr. Blobby on steroids.
My effort was all right. I think I just got past Charlie Baker.
Do me a favour.
I just got past Charlie
your
Baker.
Effort.
Not seen you out there yet.
Let me tell you, I was an athlete when I was younger. The closest you got to being an athlete is working in this studio. Please.
I used to be a good 1,500 metre runner.
Of course you did. What, when robbing a bank? They were chasing you. Come on, do me a favour.
Anyway, should we get back to football?
Let's get back to football. Let's talk football.
Yeah,
Come on.
Let's talk Andoni Iraola. He's been meeting the media this week for the first time since being appointed Liverpool manager. They're off to the States, Liverpool. And he's claimed, actually, that coaches aren't as important as players. Says they're merely assistants to the players. I always understand that football is about players. At the beginning, when I arrived in England, I remember the first few games. I didn't go with the players to clap the supporters. Tommy Elphick and Sean Cooper, my assistants who followed Iraola to Liverpool, said I should join in. In Spain, normally you leave it to the players. They're the ones who have played the game, and we are the ones who stay behind. In England, managers are the ones who go to the fans, so I've done it every time. These are cultural things you have to learn when you arrive in a new league. But I always say we are assistants to the players. They are the main part. Controversial?
No, I think he's just being honest. I think you're getting insight into how his mind works. I think he's a modern coach. A lot of these modern managers now see themselves as head coaches, and he might be called a manager, but he's a head coach in his mind. And that's probably from his culture, and that's obviously, the way he's worked up. And he's still close to being a player. What is he, 10 years removed from being a player, maybe less? So he's still thinking like a player probably, and that's probably why he's done so well. Look, all I know is this about football. Generations change things. The players 20 years ago, various managers like Ferguson, Mourinho and whatever else could deal with those players in a certain way. The modern day player and the generation of player now, you take a Mourinho, you take Sir Alex Ferguson, they're different to deal with. They can't be spoken to in the same way. They can't be dealt with in the same way. I'm not going to call them softer. Let's just say they're a different generation. So what he's saying there is probably true. It's all about the players and they're there to assist and whatever, because old managers used to be dictators. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
A little bit more dictatorial in how they did things.
Yeah.
They ran the club, they ran the dressing room, they ran this. I'm just not sure managers get away with that nowadays. I think it's generational and it's just moving.
Does that mean then the likes of Sir Alex Ferguson, Brian Clough, would they struggle in the modern game?
I think Cloughy, they're legends, and I don't want to question that. The one thing I'd say about Sir Alex Ferguson, he had this unique ability, whether he was dealing with a 15-year-old Ryan Giggs or he was dealing with a 35-year-old legend like a Roy Keane. He had a unique ability to be like a chameleon and change. I think a lot of managers don't have that ability, so I would never put Sir Alex Ferguson in that bracket. But I do say, I'm a Jose Mourinho fan, but I do realise he's struggled the last 5, 6, 7 years. And sometimes I wonder, and I watched the Amazon documentary of Tottenham, is it a generation thing why he struggled? Where you can't handle a Dele Alli and you can't handle some of these people. But 20 years ago, dealing with a Carvalho, dealing with a John Terry, dealing with a Frank Lampard, those men could take being called out in a dressing room. Some of the players nowadays can't.
Do Liverpool have enough of those characters?
I think they still have Van Dijk. They've got a World Cup winner in McAllister.
He can be a bit of a sulker, Van Dijk, though, when things are going badly.
I don't agree. That's the Man United fan in you saying that. I think he's lost a good one on Andy Robertson. I think Alisson's another good one. They are going to lose some of those leaders. You got to remember the age of those leaders, so they would miss this generation per se. But what he is going to have now in that Liverpool dressing room is a lot more of these 20 to 24-year-olds. So it's going to be interesting times.
Is it quite clever from Andoni Iraola, who didn't come in with a massive backroom staff at Bournemouth? His assistant manager, Inigo Perez, didn't get a work permit, so he couldn't, in the end, accompany him. So he kept with Tommy Elphick and Sean Cooper, two Bournemouth legends who've gone with him to Liverpool.
Yeah,
obviously know the English game. Is that quite a smart move to take two English players who know the culture?
I think it's brilliant. You see a lot of these foreign managers come in and they have basically like a football team of coaches come with them who don't speak English. I think what he's done there, he's ingrained himself in English football. It's why he's a successful manager. You look at people and go, why is he successful? Why did he do what he did at Bournemouth? It's not just the coaching. Actually, culturally, how he's doing it with the coaches, the dressing room, he's very loved and very respected. And like I said, I've spoke to the Bournemouth staff before, and they're all humble. The one thing I would say about this guy, very difficult to describe Jurgen Klopp as humble. He's elite.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say humble was one of his main things. Slot, you would say, very good coach, very good manager.
I thought he was a very likable
boring,
guy.
but boring maybe some people would say. You look at this guy, and I would say you describe him as humble, humbly deceptive.
Yeah,
and I think he's going to prove a lot of people. Well, he's going to surprise a lot of people this next couple of years.
And actually, in Tommy Elphick, he's got someone there who had an opportunity.
He could be a manager
himself.
He could be a manager.
My understanding that Bristol City job was his if he wanted it. And
could be a manager.
Michael Skubala.
100%. Like I saw, Croftsy left Brighton a couple of days ago. Spurs. I made a call on him a couple of years ago. Because I'd profiled him and what he'd done coaching in 21s in Brighton, and he had no interest dropping down to League One. But I did put out a message via Barry to see if he wanted to interview for the job. He is a terrific, amazing coach. Spurs have got a hell of an asset there. And I'm sorry, going off subject here with Areola, but Areola's staff are fantastic.
And you're confident about Liverpool this season with some reinforcements?
I think, I don't know if they'll win the title. I think we're going to see better out of Wirtz. We're going to see better out of Isak. I think Isak will look a different player. I think you're going to see a swan song from Alisson. I worry about the injuries, but I still think we'll have a top 3 challenge, and I think we'll win the FA Cup.
It's interesting looking at the personalities at the top clubs now, because obviously Guardiola has gone. Klopp went a couple of years ago. Mourinho is now at Real Madrid. You've got Michael Carrick at Manchester United. Yep. Again, very humble, very down to earth.
Are they matching the generations?
Doesn't give much away in press conferences. You've mentioned Iraola. Certainly doesn't have the personality of Klopp and has that humbleness, as you've already said. Maresca's got a bit of feistiness about him, but he isn't Pep Guardiola.
No, is he?
It's all about Mikel Arteta, isn't it, in terms of creating those headlines?
Yeah, I mean, Arteta really is now, you would call him, I guess, the king.
Yeah.
You know, and he's like the highest paid manager.
De Zerbi's going to be good.
He'd be good entertainment. I think he'd be good entertainment. De Zerbi's one of them. Someone earlier accused me of calling him world class. I said he is potentially a world class manager. He doesn't stay long enough with clubs. If De Zerbi for the next 4 years was a Spurs and he got the backing, I think Spurs would win trophies and be top 3 all the time. That's my saying because of their stadium and the money behind the scenes. I look at Glasner. I really rate him. I don't rate his nonsense last year with Palace, but I really rate him as a manager. Do you know what I mean? So it's going to be a really interesting Premier League. You just said it there. There's a lot of humble managers. There's a lot of low-maintenance managers. Maybe the egos are on the way out. Maybe that's to do with the generation of players they're managing.
Is there such a thing as low-maintenance manager? Really? They all come with baggage attached, don't they?
I think Areola's low-maintenance. I do. I think if you ask Bill Foley and the people behind the scenes at Bournemouth, and we have relationships there with them in their academy, I think he is low maintenance. I do think there's I'll be honest with you, Luke Williams is a low maintenance manager. Like, it works for me. Incredible, very supportive, very low maintenance. Like, I've had a variety of managers. Let me tell you, they're more high maintenance than my missus. So, you know, where it's constant, which this is fine. I'm not having a go at high maintenance managers, by the way. They are what they are.
Yeah.
But I think nowadays a lot more of the Premier League managers are low maintenance.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're certainly not low maintenance, but I've enjoyed the last 3 days. I'm going to have a few days off now, and I think I'm back with you next Friday. You're back before that?
They brought you in again, haven't they?
Me in again.
I thought they were bringing in the A-list. You know what I mean? To help you.
Well, you've got that early in the week. Speaking of the A-list, I can see the boys for H&J ready to go. Andy Jacobs and Max Scott taking you through until 4 o'clock. This has been Crook and MacAnthony. Thanks for your company. Is it going to disadvantage Arsenal that a lot of their players have gone deep into the draw? Martin Odegaard, who obviously had injury issues last season, made it all the way through to the quarterfinals. And you look at Chelsea, Cole Palmer,
they're all
fully
fresh,
presumably.
Yeah.
I think he had the summer off. Phil Foden at Manchester City. The same.
Yeah, Fernando's got half of the World Cup final on. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I get your point, and it's always interesting after a major championship, a World Cup, a Euros, South American one. How are the players going to be? Are they rested? I think the same at Liverpool. Some of the players coming back has Van Dijk. I know they didn't go deep, Holland, but again, he played more minutes than anyone last year.
McAllister got to the final.
Well, McAllister suddenly looked like the player we had 2 years ago. I don't know where that version of him was last year, so it'd be nice to see that for Liverpool this year. But I think Arsenal got a big squad. I think they recruited really well last year. I think they'll recruit again this summer. It would be foolish to bet against them. It'll be interesting to see how they handle it. But you've obviously got then the Champions League. You've got all the cup games. And the biggest thing for me last year is when I saw Declan Rice playing a League Cup game.
Yeah,
that was the thing, and my head fell off my shoulders. And you look at that guy. I don't think he's physically exhausted. I think he's mentally exhausted. I saw him in that third place game, and after the game, he looked someone that was he looked like a ghost.
Yeah.